Hi guys, this is Paul, and I don't know what the fuck I want to talk about right now. It was one of these moments where I've been talking to myself a lot. Like, I've just come back from kickboxing and I've just been kind of talking to myself in my head a lot. And this could only mean one thing: it's time to talk in front of the camera. About what? I have not a fucking clue. Because I wanted to talk about this, but then I rambled on that, but then my mind went another way. My mind is all over the place. My mind is focusing on very, very different and unrelated things, and it's solving none of them, basically. So, yeah. Of course, um, my life's aim right now is to disprove, to completely destroy all philosophical infrastructure of the oblivionists. I have nothing else to call it, basically, because, like, if I say atheism, there are some atheists that have faith in something even though they don't realize it, right? And that means they're okay. Their lives are gonna be okay. They have faith. They just don't admit it. It kind of fucking it fucks with their intelligence because they think faith is something stupid. So they kind of delude themselves into thinking that their beliefs are logical and they're based on pure math and they're based on pure undeniable logic instead of just faith and feeling, which actually makes them look even more stupid, unfortunately. But they don't realize it, so I guess it's fine. I don't think I should fix what isn't broken. Because, like, their lives are not ruined and they're not doing anything bad to humanity, these people. Even though they call themselves atheists, they're believers. Because, yeah, they believe in something. They're gonna believe in something. I don't know what, because I cannot tell you exactly what atheists believe in, because it's different for all of them. Because it's generally like these things like atheism, religious skepticism, nihilism, even nihilism, especially nihilism. They're like blanket terms to mean something kind of vague. They're not really precise, and so this means I cannot. And even these people who believe the universe is indifferent, they do actually have faith in something, even though they're too stupid to realize it. They just didn't analyze the problem enough. They didn't think about it enough, right? So, who am I actually against then? Because I cannot say atheists, because some of them have something going on. I cannot say nihilists, so I'm going to call them oblivionists to kind of pinpoint it. I'm just coining this term. I gave it a Google search on Google, and oblivionism seems to be basically nowhere. There was a book called Oblivionism. Wait, let me look at it. Forgetting and Forgetfulness in Modern Science. I have not a fucking clue. The title doesn't give me any clue what this book could be about. Yeah. Speaking of books, I should start fucking reading for fuck's sakes. I haven't even read the philosophy of Nietzsche. The only things I know about nihilism and Nietzsche are things that I've heard, which is bad. It's a complete hole in my responsibility. Because, like, if I'm talking about things so serious and my goals are this serious to genuinely, like, carpet bomb the philosophical infrastructure of all of, like, all the people who believe there's nothing after death, basically. I fuck with them, and the people who I wanna fuck up their stuff, and I wanna trigger them to them get their curiosity going, right? Not and also the people who, you know, believe the universe is indifferent. So these are the main two things that I'm completely personally against, and I believe they're detrimental, no matter what. Either detrimental, or you're actually not realizing that you're believing in something else, which is a problem on your part because you haven't really thought this shit out. So you're full of delusions. These people are full of delusions. There has to be a delusion somewhere, because there's no delusion in what they're saying, we're fucked. So I feel like I'm genuinely the last straw of sanity in all this madness, which is very egotistic and very narcissistic and very one-sided, as if the world is spinning around me. I know this sounds like that. I understand it, but do I have a choice? I don't. But yeah. So as I said, I should start fucking reading, for God's sake. so that because like there's definitely many smart people in history that have been exploring for years the topics that I've just been spending a couple hours thinking about. So why did I get started on this to begin with, right? I believe there's lots of problems with probability. There's lots of problems with a like logic. There's lots of problems with true and false. There's lots of problems with wisdom in general. I'm starting to say a bit empty words, but it all started with a problem. I always imagine myself, if I become like an influential individual once, eventually in my lifetime, I imagine myself on an interview somewhere and someone asking me, why are you so passionate about philosophy? And I think you, my faithful, my no, my dear 4 subscribers, there's 4 people that all 4 of you commented on my videos at least once. How cool is that? My subscriber to comment ratio is basically 100%, and also my subscriber to commitment ratio is 100%. Beautiful. I don't know what's going on, but if I piss you off eventually, you asked for it. Because like I talk about things that are gonna piss somebody off eventually. I step on eggshells continuously in all my speech. Anyway, how did this all started? Why am I so quote unquote passionate about philosophy? And I always imagine myself responding to that question in that imaginary interview as, if I had a choice to stop thinking about it, I would have long ago. I would have from the beginning. I would have never thought about this shit ever. So this is why I actually don't have a superiority complex when people are being stupid or ignorant, because I get it. If there is, because they're blessed to not be able to see the threat that I'm seeing. Their eyes don't see very far. They only see what's in front of them. They don't see kilometers away like I do. This is a metaphor of like reason, right? So if there is any way to avoid philosophy and avoid thinking about it ever, you should take that path, I believe. It's the only way to sanity is not thinking about this shit, because thinking about this is only going to lead to insanity. That's what I believe. If you do it properly, that is. Because like if you do not go insane thinking about this, it means your intelligence has reached a bottleneck. It has reached a limit, and you've kind of come to a point where you think you've solved all the mysteries in your mind, but actually you're not even close. But you're not intelligent enough to see the holes in your own logic, right? And for better or for worse, I think I was born with a capacity to see through people's bullshit, like very far. I'm talking very far. Like I'm seeing through the bullshit of people who think they've reinvented wisdom, like that kind of level, right? And I'm not proud of it. I don't like this, and I kind of would like to just be a humble person that just doesn't deal with any of this intelligent shit and just lives like a fucking simple, straightforward life, right? I think that's the ideal, right? Because I don't think philosophy is something that should be touched unless you really need it. It's like surgery. You have to cut. You have to get blood on your hands. You have to go insane. You have to fucking go through fire. But you do it because you have to. Because if you don't do it, it's only going to be worse, right? So if you're an innocent person, you might not understand why I'm actually talking like this and why do I think this? Like isn't philosophy beautiful? Isn't it about, because like you think of Aristotle, the man who talked about, and the Stoics, they talk about the good values in people, the good values, the goodness. Democritus, who thought about atoms, right? How science has some basis in philosophy and wisdom, and it brought us so many beautiful things and renovation. You probably think about these things, but try to think about the afterlife and death. And if you have too many neurons in your head for your own good, you're never going to sleep again. You need to be stupid to some extent to believe that there is nothing after death and be at peace with it. This is one of my most one of the things that I'm most certain about. And I hope to death someone will prove me wrong. And actually I'm not certain about this. And the reason is never since like the beginning of my childhood, never have I ever had a never have I ever. I've never had the slightest percent of empathy, or not empathy, of understanding for people who are at peace with the thought that there's nothing after death. Ever. I don't know. And here's my explanation, because the consequence was this. The atheist or nihilist or whatever you want to call them, that kind of person who believes there's nothing after death, will tell me something like, your consciousness will stop, so you will not be aware of it, and so that means you will be at peace. Right? That's one of the things they say. Another one of the things they say is, it will be just like before you were born. That's another thing they say. What else do they say? Is there a third one? There probably is, but I cannot come up with it right. I cannot remember it right now. There's all sorts of angles. They tackle it from very many angles, and they kind of step into this insidious trap that makes them feel like they've solved something. It makes them feel like, this makes sense. But they actually just open the whole bag of snakes of just madness and a death of human wisdom, just a complete abomination to human wisdom. But they don't realize it yet. But I see it. I only see the problems, but I don't see the solution right now. I'm not smart enough to see the solution right now. I just see that it's full of problems. And I believe that people are actually very rarely thinking in terms of chains of logic, like in math, like statement, this leads to statement, this leads to statement, this leads to statement. They actually just have an intuitive feeling about something. And then, to justify that intuitive feeling, then they build the bridge of logic to try to lead to it, right? That this can go many ways. Like maybe the belief itself has a chain of logic inside the conscious mind, which we all know the conscious mind is the unconscious mind. My bad. The unconscious mind has an unknown modulus operandi, as the master key system said. Basically, it's impossible to understand how the unconscious mind gives you your reason. It only gives you the ripe fruit, as it said. The reason I quote the master key system here is that I believe it genuinely is onto something here, because it seems very reasonable, looking at all of science, looking at all anecdotes, just anecdotally observable that the unconscious mind and human intuition, which is based on the unconscious mind, it only gives you a solution. It only gives you a feeling about something that seems to have come out of nowhere, out of thin air. You don't know where it came from. You don't know. There's no chain of logic. The unconscious mind doesn't give you how it came to the solution. It just tells you the solution. So maybe the unconscious mind itself uses a very delicate, perfectionist, very genius chain of logic to lead you to that. Or maybe it's just something else completely, right? But either way, we just know that getting a feeling and an intuition that tends to be kind of correct about something or not tends to be kind of effortless. It just comes to you when it comes, right? It's in your shower, it just came to you, right? God knows what your brain did to get that. But afterwards, forming a chain of logic that justifies your feeling is another work in itself. It's usually a combination of the unconscious mind and the conscious mind. The conscious mind kind of gives commands, I think. It's like, okay, I don't know this. Can you solve it for me? And then the unconscious mind, after some time, just goes, okay, here's the solution. Oh, this works. Thank you. Right? So, to get the feeling itself, it just comes instantly. But then to get the bridge of logic that leads to a chain of statements and facts that lead you to that prove that statement right, is like 99% of the work, because the unconscious mind has to come up with this, this statement, this statement, this statement, this statement, this statement. Meanwhile, to come up with the solution, it just gives you the solution. So like, the computation power of the unconscious mind seems to be, even though it's infinite, the computation itself, it can only give you one solution to one problem at a time. And each logical step in an argument is one problem with its own solution, so it has to come up with all of them separately. You get what I mean? So you come up with that's so I've kind of noticed that, and my statement, my assumption seems to be anecdotally congruent. Like, just I don't know, live life and find out that it's actually the way I'm saying it is. And what I'm going with this is that ever since I was a little kid, I had a feeling that this whole eternal oblivion shit and how it's peaceful and it's okay is terribly, horribly, and horrifyingly wrong. But I've only had the feeling. I've never had a logical chain to actually tell me where that feeling came from, right? And feelings are very high intelligence, typically. They come from a very delicate chain of logic, if you try to kind of work it out. But as I said, it's a separate work in itself. So, when I was a little kid, oh yeah, the third statement that atheists say. So they say, okay, your consciousness will cease to exist, so there will be no pain, no suffering, so it's okay. You will not be, but then I say, but there will be darkness, there will be the color black. They're like, no, there's not going to be any darkness, there's not going to be any black, because you're not going to be aware of it, so there will not be anything, so it's going to be okay. Okay, then the second one is, it will be just like before you were born. And the third one, that I just remembered now, because my suicidal friend, told me this one. I remember being so pissed off when I heard it about it. I was like, oh my god, are you genuinely brain dead? Are you genuinely brain dead? But he said, like, the activity in your brain will stop, so that means there will be no more pain, because all pain comes from the human brain. Facepalm. Oh my god, that was so brain dead. Get the pun? Brain dead. I'm so unfunny, I'm sorry. But, and if you don't know why that's brain dead, if you're like looking at me in this video like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Then you're in for a treat. I will either blow your mind or shoot over it. I don't know. But yeah, why did I start this philosophy crap in the first place? And why it was not against my will is because ever since I was a little kid, I had trouble sleeping at night. I was terrified. I genuinely was not taking any action in my life, just being scared to shit at the concept of nothing after death. Even though all atheists and all oblivionists say that it's actually a good thing, because, or they say in their fancy posh ass, it will be a neutral thing, neither good nor bad. If you're complacent with it, it means it's good. So shut the fuck up. It's not neutral. It's not neither good nor bad. It's good because you're complacent with it. Or if you were not good, you will not be complacent with it. So can you shut up about that? You pretentious bitch. Sorry. But yeah, when I was little kid, I had a problem with it. It will not work for me. Like, whenever you told me that shit, it would not work for me. I felt that there was something off constantly, but my logic didn't quite form yet. It took me years of development, ever since age 6 or something, when I started being terrified about this shit. Or I don't know, I don't remember what age I was. I remember being really little kid, but it took me years for my unconscious mind to give me the steps of logic as to why it's off to begin with, where that feeling of mine came from to begin with. And it turns out, because there's two possibilities: either they see further than I do, and I'm too stupid to understand their logic, right? So it means my unconscious mind undershot, right, their logic, and it landed in a pile of shit that made me anxious every night, right? The fact that I landed in a pile of shit is a fact. This cannot be denied. The only question is this pile of shit positioned in a chain of logic inferior to the oblivionists, or is it superior to the oblivionists? Am I undershooting or overshooting them? Am I undershooting their intelligence? Are they more intelligent than me, or am I more intelligent than them? It's only one of these, because our intelligence cannot be the same. Okay, actually, if you look at it in a circular way, maybe our intelligence are the same. Intelligences, actually, no, they can't, because we're disagreeing with each other. We're disagreeing with each other, so it's genuinely impossible for our intelligences to be the same. Either I'm overshooting or they are. And maybe I was overshooting, because the statements that they were saying about the fact that it will be just like before you were alive, before you were born. They sounded more reasonable than my statement that this bad, this not good was my only statement. So it kind of sounded like I was being the stupid one, right? And then I realized I'm the smarter one, because I actually have some logical arguments that are beyond what they are saying. And I can actually piece apart all these three statements and why they're off, right? And my hope with these videos, because my German friend asked me, like, do you intend to be famous one day on YouTube? Obviously, this is a stupid fucking question, because, like, who the fuck is gonna get famous from this shit? I'm talking about stuff that people don't give a single fuck about. They just want to, and or like, do you want to build your own cult? Do you want to get subscribers? Something like that. He asked me, and I was like, yes, but not actually. It's not for the reasons to be known, because I'm not gonna make buck from this shit, right? Nobody. It's not. You're not gonna make ad money from this. You're not gonna get a significant audience from this. But what I'm actually hoping for in getting a higher audience, why I actually want a higher audience, is actually because I want to be proven wrong. I want someone that is actually more intelligent than me to come to these videos, analyze what I'm saying, and be like, okay, this guy is missing out on a point, right? And here I'm going to tell it to him and write a big ass comment on why I'm wrong. Because if I get proven wrong on something, it means I've evolved. It means I've been giving a step to evolve as a human being, right? Because I've kind of come to the conclusion that if someone shows you that you're wrong, tells you that you're wrong about something, proves to you that there's no proof in this world, but I'm just going to use the word vaguely, proves you wrong about something, it's actually good for you. It cannot possibly be bad for you, right? Can it be bad for me? Because, like, the guy proving you wrong can, like, tell you that his pile of shit is right. Because, like, for example, imagine someone is living a great life, they're productive, they have a lot of money, everything is going well for them, and they're religious, but then some atheist or black pill or some guy goes to them like, there might be nothing before you die, and maybe they have a brain similar to mine that will not have defense mechanisms against that statement, to trick them into the trap of ignorance that makes you actually complacent with that statement and be like, oh, that's not so bad because I will not be conscious. It'll lead you astray into that abomination of wisdom, abomination and insult to human wisdom. But maybe they will not have that mechanism, and they will actually be terrified, as they should be. And did they actually benefit from getting proven wrong? Because, like, they were wrong about everything being good, but now they were presented a pile of shit that they shouldn't have really worried about. Actually, I'm going nowhere with this. Maybe it's good for them. I don't know. My intuition says that it's good for me to be proven wrong. I'm not gonna get too fucking fancy with this stuff. But, yeah. That's basically what I'm hoping for. And unfortunately, I think there will be many people that think they're right, but they're actually wrong. As the world is. But maybe there will be that 1% that will actually tell me, okay, Paul, here's why you're wrong. Right? And I will actually read that and be like, holy shit, this guy has a point. But yeah, I don't know. So, and I think there's a high chance that I'm wrong somewhere. Because these people, I don't know, I have a feeling there have to be some people that think this oblivionist stuff is actually okay. It's not terrifying. but for a reason that is actually not brain dead, right? Maybe there is, I don't know. Atheism has a large audience. Many people are like, well, not atheism, but like oblivionism in general. You know, the thing that goes against faith. So why did I start this philosophy crap to begin with? It's because in my childhood I had some problems that could not be solved by a therapist. Basically, I went to psychotherapy, and I would tell her about my problem, that I am terrified of this thing about nothingness after death. She knew that basically giving me some stupid, pretentious, oblivionist crap like, well, you'll not be conscious. Why should you be scared? She knew that shit wouldn't work, right? And she tried some stuff. None of it worked. So I'm not dissing psychotherapy here, but therapy didn't work for me. Basically, it actually made the problems worse. And I am not a human being that feels good talking about his weaknesses. No. I find, here's my opinion about therapy. I'm just going to go on a tangent about therapy here, a rant. The potential reality that your mind, your mental health, as it's called, is dependent on another human being, and you have to be reliant on another human being for your mind to be okay, is a horrible reality. I don't want this to be real. So that's why I believe that if therapy doesn't work, it's actually a good thing. Because if it worked, that's a fucking dystopia. I'm dependent on a fucking human being. I feel like a fucking loser. Like, I have to go once a week, right? This is very controversial. Out of my 4 subscribers, maybe 2 of them will be pissed and unsubscribe, whatever. But I'm genuinely hate this concept of therapy so much, because I have to be dependent on a person, give them money. I'm a fucking poor ass Romanian dude, you know, like, I think money is precious. You have to give them money, you have to trust them, you have to depend on them, right? For your own fucking mind, right? To work. I feel like that's horrible. That's such a horrible reality. Because, like, okay, of course you could say, but yeah, you have to be dependent on someone to save you. If you're gonna fall off a cliff, someone has to pull you out, right? Is that a horrible reality? That's a good argument. It's not really a horrible reality. We help each other, we're humans. But if it's the physical world, if someone protects you from something physical, it kind of doesn't feel that bad. But I don't know why my intuition says that there's something horrible about you needing help with your own fucking mind. You know, something about it is very deterring to me. And maybe it's related to my experience with therapy, which was actually a pretty abysmal experience. My therapist, it was a woman. I'm not misogynistic or anything, but maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe the thought patterns of a male versus one of a female, there might be some differences there, and problems with empathy, even though I am opposed to that reality as well. I would rather like a reality where men and women can empathize with each other, you know. So whatever. But she was not a bad therapist. She was renowned in the city that I'm in. She's renowned in a lot of places. She's basically, my doctor gave her and told me that she's the best. She knows what she's doing. She got her shit right. And because I had this problem where whenever I would be in front of a person, a facade would come that would basically erase my memory that I ever had a problem to begin with. Because I had a facade that I formed since childhood that whenever I'm in front of a person, I never ever ever talk about something that interests me. It's something that formed to kind of protect me from the fear of getting bullied. I don't know how the fuck it formed, but basically it's a very powerful facade, and it results in every therapy session being about something irrelevant. We would talk 1 hour about something completely irrelevant. It would be completely my fault because I brought the discussion. Instead of us talking about the serious problems in my life, whatever they were, I forgot what the fuck they were, but I would instead talk about how I hate some dude in school and I want to punch him because he's fucking annoying. And we would talk about that 1 hour. The most irrelevant thing possible, right? And the reason that would happen is because my mind, the moment it saw her in my face, it would erase my memory about everything that's important, and it would bring something that's completely irrelevant to kind of fill in the conversation. I don't know how this mechanism formed. It probably formed to kind of like as a thing to save me from some previous threat that I had as a child through some things that I completely forgot. Whatever, who gives a fuck? So that was an abysmal experience. It looks like I'm incapable of talking about my feelings. Not only am I incapable of showing feelings, I'm incapable of talking about them. And I'm incapable of even remembering them. We're off to a bad start, and it seems to be completely my fault here. And we came up with this idea. Okay, how about I write some PDFs, long-ass PDFs, about shit that is truly important. Because when I'm alone in my room, I can talk about shit that's truly important because there's no person in front of me. So I did that, and there goes 6 hours per day of my life, because the ratio of thought to word is abysmal. Because it's horrible. One thought that takes about 2 seconds to think, to register in my mind. 2 seconds. Takes about 3 hours to type the pages necessary to describe that thought. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible ratio. Slow, terrible, and it would eat my life up. For me to express 15 minutes of thought, I have to take about a 40 hours to 80 hours of writing. This is just the writing. I'm not going to mention her patience in reading it, right? Where this is so far not looking very good. But I did it anyway, and the result was, let me just look at this actually. Do I still have the files on my computer? I do have them backed up somewhere, but I don't know if I still have them on this fresh PC. I don't, but it was about, I don't know, a couple hundred pages. I don't know what it was. Probably less. And the reason I don't blame her, and I don't believe that there's a problem with her, I believe there's a problem with the whole, there was a problem with me maybe, is because she read all of it and memorized all of it. I kid you not. In our conversations, it was apparent that wherever I would talk to her about any paragraph of any page, she would remember exactly what I wrote and talk to me about it. This means that not only that she would do it in her free time, when she was supposed to be with her kids or some shit, and she was like, okay, I have time to read Paul's stuff on my phone. So this is proof that she cared about me. That's one thing. She cared about her job. She was passionate about what she's doing. She was not fucking around. She was a high-end therapist, so she was actually talented in her stuff. She read a lot of books. She knows what he's doing, right? So there's no problem with her. She was perfect. And I had a lot of, like, you know, appreciation for her, for being so patient and so caring and so there to listen. But despite all of that, I believe those therapies basically led nowhere. I think it was about 2 years of therapy. If I cumulatively, it was 1 week, 1 hour per week, but over the span of like a couple of years, with some big breaks in between. And they led nowhere. Nowhere. I'm going to make this statement. If she were to watch this video, I don't know if she would agree, but in my opinion, looking back on it, the result from all of that was nothing. All of the solutions that I've come up with to the problems of my mind and my beliefs, I've come up with them myself. Completely on my own. Completely unrelated to anything she ever told me. And not only that, the therapy sessions were actually net making me feel like shit. Because it started looking like a dopamine addiction problem. That hour of the week would be the only hour of my life when I would talk about something the things that genuinely matter to me and that are genuinely important to me with a person that actually gives a fuck about me and is not intellectually overwhelmed to talk about these subjects with me. She was very smart. She knew her stuff, and she actually had a very positive energy around her. You just love being around her, genuinely. Like, whenever was talking to me, and her mannerism and everything, for some reason, it just gave me very positive energy, right? I loved talking to her, and I wanted to talk to her more, and there was a problem with that. The problem was that that hour felt like about 15 seconds. So that means I craved talking to her again, and I was dependent on her, just as a addict would be on heroin, right? So the entire week, I would genuinely feel like crap. I was like, I cannot talk to her anymore. She probably doesn't even give a shit about me right now because she's busy. She's chatting to other clients. Of course, maybe she's reading my shit, but I want to interact with her, right? I want more of her time, even though it's unfair, right? Because, like, it's her time. And I had to pay a shit ton of money for it. My parents, of course, had a problem with it, and I don't blame them. Because it's a lot of money per hour. And I was basically addicted. It was basically the exact pattern of addiction. My positivity, my positive feelings would bump up when I was talking with her in that 1 hour, which felt like 15 seconds. Then it would immediately drop far below baseline. That entire week, when I was not talking to her, felt more alone than I felt before. It actually felt worse. It's actually far worse to be dependent on a person you get to talk 1 hour per week with, because they're too busy, right? You're so fucking useless and irrelevant as a human being. Like, just try to imagine how horrible it made me feel as a human. It wasn't a feeling. It was genuinely the truth. I was a worthless sack of garbage. As a human being, I had no worth as a human being. Zero. If I'm dependent on a person that doesn't have time to talk to me, only 1 hour per week, and I have to give them money to even give a shit about me. Do you imagine what that means? Do you even imagine how dystopian that is? It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible, right? Therapy is not for me. I'm never doing therapy again, ever. Besides her, there was another person which is not renowned, unlike her, and basically she pissed me off every second of the fucking meeting, basically. Like, I don't know, all of the things she was saying, she was basically trying to make me weak, basically, trying to say that you should be weaker, you shouldn't listen, you shouldn't try to make your life better, you shouldn't. That's basically what I understand. Of course, if she were to watch this video, she'd be like, no, that's not the case. I don't mean to say that your life shouldn't be better. I just mean to say that you shouldn't do things that are risky and make you tired, and you should also relax a lot and maybe jack off a little bit. You know, all that kind of shit, you know. Just the kind of shit that just pisses you off. You know. So I know one fact. Therapy is very likely not for me. Or at least not for the me at the time that was dependent on talking to a human being, right? Maybe if I were to do it with someone like Jordan Peterson or some shit, it would genuinely be insightful. I don't think it would even count as therapy. It would be more like coaching, because if I read his book completely, and I give him some specialized questions about applying the principles to my life, and he gives me some knowledge that's actually external to that book. Not all of it is from that book, right? It more counts as coaching, and coaching is not bad, you know. It's like genuinely a person mentorship. Yeah, it's like mentorship on various topics, you know. But yeah, therapy is just dismal. There's nothing good about it. Nothing. And you know what's most annoying? The internet is the most annoying fucking attitude. Have you ever tried Googling how to kill yourself? You probably did, because you're a loser like I am, right? We're all fucking losers. We're all in this shit together. But I'm not going to be a loser eventually, right? So I'm only in this bus stop of being a loser temporarily. Maybe you will escape one day too from this curse of being a worthless human being in general. I'm still worthless. Let's see how long it will last. But what the fuck did I want to say? Yeah, the internet's relation to therapy and mental health. Dismal. Absolutely horrible. Google anything about killing yourself. Anything about depression and how to deal with it. And the video starts off, whatever the creator is, it always starts off with this. I take no responsibility for anything I say in this video, and you should always talk to a professional. They always use this word professional as if they're masters of the field. They know it all. They're the fucking masters of Wudan, right? The professionals, right? Only listen to a professional. Anything I say in this video is basically bullshit. Basically, don't listen. They basically try, in the beginning of the video, they basically tell you that whatever they say is basically meaningless compared to what a professional says. You should talk to a professional, right? Always talk to a professional about mental health, suicide, depression, whatever. And so why did you make the video? If it's bullshit. If you basically told me in the beginning of the video that you take zero responsibility for anything you say. So if anything you say is wrong, you're going to say, well, you should listen to a professional, not what I say. Then why am I supposed to watch your video? It's a paradox, isn't it? What's the point of the video, genuinely? When you take zero responsibility for anything you're about to say. And basically take all that responsibility and burden and throw it on the back of professionals. They know it all, I don't know nothing. But let's actually try it. Let's try Googling how to kill yourself. Let's see what videos we find, because of course they're gonna try. Okay, first result: Romania helplines and hotlines. They have their shit together. I mean, let's look. Suicide facts and misconceptions you should know. Let's go. I've never seen this video. Let's see how it starts. Is it gonna say consult a professional? Let's see. I'm going to turn audio off, so this video does not get copyright. I'm just going to look at the video right now.
In a recent survey by the CDC of high school students, about 1 in 5 had seriously considered suicide. 1 in 6 had made a suicide plan, and 1 in 11 had actually made a suicide attempt.
Okay, it doesn't start with that.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Schechter, chair of the Department of Psychiatry at Salem Hospital, and today I'm going to fact check some claims and common perceptions about suicide.
It's actually made by a person that has a doctorate in this stuff. So even if this guy is genuinely a professional, right? So if he were to say consult a professional, this is probably the only why the only reason he's not saying consult a professional is because he's a professional. Otherwise he would have said, okay, let's try again. How to escape depression. Okay, it's Jordan Peterson. He's not gonna. Jordan Peterson actually takes responsibility, so he's not gonna do that. How to cope with depression.
Almost half of us will suffer from depression at some point in our lives, but the condition remains badly misunderstood and therefore often poorly treated. At the heart of our collective difficulty with depression is a confusion about what it actually is, and in particular, how.
The fuck? Okay.
History of depression in my family and myself. Just. Hey, Victors, welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for all the love and support that you've given us. Our mission is to make mental health.
I'm not finding them anymore. What the fuck? Why was it back when I was trying to do it? Everyone was escaping responsibility by adding this disclaimer that you should check with a professional and never listen to anything that is said in the video. But I guess maybe that changed. I don't know. But in general, at least back in the day, like a couple years ago, from what I saw, everyone was just trying to avoid responsibility in everything they said by saying consult a professional. They were treating this kind of mental health professionalism as kind of like they know everything, I know nothing kind of thing, right? So don't blame me. The reason I say that's escaping responsibility is because basically it's a blanket statement. Whenever someone tells you that something is off with the things that you're saying in the video and they're wrong, you're basically saying, well, I'm not a professional, right? So you should take responsibility for the fucking thing you say and not put burden on the professionals. And yeah, how do the professionals deal with the burden? Well, basically the psychotherapist said it's not dependent on me. You have to fix yourself. I'm only telling you how to, but if you don't want to fix yourself, it's not my problem. If you want to kill yourself and there's nothing I can do to save you, that's not my problem. You're supposed to listen to what I say, and if you don't, that's my problem. Even they escape responsibility. So the responsibility is on nobody, which means the responsibility is on your ass, right? So at the end of the day, the only person that is ever saying anything coherent on this subject is probably Andrew Tate. I kid you not. The fucking misogynist. Look at him. Look at how the way he looks. He looks like the least trustable person on the subject. And instead, he's the one that's most coherent. It actually takes responsibility for what he says and actually says something that is not fucking toxic. Right? Fuck it, in my opinion. I mean, the idea that depression is not real, and if you don't believe it, you're not going to catch it. It's just probably a solve-all. It's like genuinely that fucking hack. But of course, it's a catch-22, because if you already believe in depression, then you need to stop being depressed to even have the capacity to stop believing that you're depressed. Because stopping to believe that you're depressed is a... Actually, no, probably not. Okay, I'm not going to become... Forget all I said. It doesn't make sense. But whatever. Of course, the argument is that the main problem that people are going to probably have with that is that they're going to listen to what he said and be like, well, there's probably people... There are probably people that are depressed and it's genuinely a problem with their brain and they need to take pills. What are you going to say about these people, right? And the problem is where we draw the line. Because depression is always going to have to do with chemicals in your brain. But, like, it's actually hard to tell whether the person needs pills or not. Here's a case where it's actually very simple. Imagine you broke up with your girlfriend. Now you want to kill yourself. In that case, it's absolutely clear that it's a psychological problem and not a neurological problem. It's absolutely clear that you're not supposed to take pills. Because... you're supposed to feel like shit. Okay, maybe the suicide thing is just a belief that was added up onto you to make you react like that whenever I'm not happy, so it's time to kill myself. You know, to me that sounds pretty clear that suicide is like something we invented. But there's this suicidal dude that is my friend, and he basically gave me an argument that basically suicide is not invented. And people come up with the idea of suicide even though they've never been told and never been exposed to the idea of suicide ever in their lives. Well, that makes shit very fucking complicated. Everything is so complicated now. I don't know. I don't know, but... I'm not going to fix what isn't broken. So, if Andrew Tate's view works for me now, I'm not going to attempt to tinker with it too much. It fucking works. I'm gonna leave it like that. It doesn't work for that dude, so we need something more complex, right? We need something beyond Newton's laws of physics. We need Einstein's laws of relativity. We need something more complex, right, to solve a more complex problem. But yeah, what in the fuck did I want to talk about? Okay, I ranted about therapy and why I don't believe in it anymore. Because, like, even if it works, that's fucking dystopian. Because the idea of someone having to... you being dependent on a human being to fucking help you with your own mind is just... it's just abysmal to me. But of course it's gonna be... of course it's a controversial view. But for me, it just kind of felt like that. Whenever I just felt like I was the ultimate bag of shit and garbage for seeking therapy, ever. I didn't feel like, oh, let's solve the problem. I just felt like I was a sack of shit. Because I was the only person that ever gave a fuck about what I said. And I only got to talk 1 hour with them. I couldn't be their friend. I couldn't be their... They needed money to give a fuck about me, right? Abysmal. Terrible. I'm never doing that shit again, ever. Ever. Unless... fuck knows. Unless it's mentorship. You know, I don't know. if it's mentorship about your mind and spirituality and all that, does it count as therapy? Who fucking knows? But I don't like using that word anyway. I'd rather be alone, just genuinely alone with nobody, than have one person that I'm addicted to, I'm dependent upon, because they give a shit about me because of money. You know, never. It's kind of a god complex. The person kind of becomes a god, and you're a slave, kind of. Actually, I see a pattern in my thinking now. I'm probably going to prove myself wrong on this in the future. Because, like, whenever I use words like slave and god complex and slave and inferior and superior, there's always full of holes. And I think I'm speaking more with my feelings than I am with any sort of logic and reason right now. Fuck it. I'm going to evolve eventually. I don't know. But I do expect these views to be changed eventually. So what was I talking about again? Yeah, the whole problem of nothingness after death, and not only that I was genuinely terrified as a kid, and I genuinely cried once. Again, as I said, the crying for me is a big deal. I don't cry unless it's something serious, right? So the fact that I cried as a kid over that problem means that it was something very, very, very serious, right? Because I cried like 6 times in my life, right? So like I was terrified of being teleported in a box and suffocating to death while in bed, like just teleporting me. Because like I realized that science cannot actually, because like if science cannot actually disprove that is possible, because like if that happens, all the scientists are gonna do is they're just going to throw their papers in a bag and start writing again a new theory of science, of physics or whatever the fuck, that tries to include that event, that anecdote in it, right? Or nothing at all. They're just gonna declare me missing or some shit like that. It's gonna be a mystery on 42 or some shit, right? So actually, science doesn't mean shit. Just because something is scientifically impossible does not mean it's possible. That's the problem. And I saw that problem as a kid, and I was terrified of being teleported in the box. And it's a problem. I wouldn't do anything in my life ever. I was barely sleeping. I was only thinking about that. I was terrified of swords appearing in my balls, like just shit that was completely devoid of logic, and me being tortured in ways that completely defy physics for no reason, right? As you would imagine, I would associate the idea of an indifferent universe that does shit at random with those things, right? And just because it has a low probability of happening does not mean it won't happen, right? It just means we don't understand the modulus operandi. We don't understand the system that makes it happen or not happen, right? It's just a system that we don't understand, of course. Besides quantum physics, which seems to claim that there's genuinely probability to a universe that seems to be not dependent on the system, which is basically like saying instantaneous rate of change. It's an oxymoron. A probability that is genuinely random and does not depend on any system is like saying... It's genuinely a paradox. I don't know what to compare it to. But it's like the definition of probability is dependent on us not understanding the system, right? I've talked about this in my previous video, in probability insanity. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it again. I'm assuming if you have the fucking patience to listen to this, you probably listened to that previous video. So, yeah. Where am I going with this? I had these problems as a kid, and nobody could beat me out of them. Like, nobody could tell me, oh, well... that's improbable. You know, the probability is really small, so that it won't happen, right? I remember my German friend would just on Discord would just tell me, well, if the probability is wrong, that means it will never happen. I was like, no, it doesn't mean it will never happen. It just means it's improbable happening, but it is possible for it to happen. And then he changed this sentence. He said something like, but for all intents and purposes, it won't happen. What? What does for all intents and purposes mean? What purposes? purposes of life. Eventually, I discovered that his mind is genuinely flawed. Because either I was flawed or he was flawed. The problem with debate is that there's many moments where you cannot actually tell who's wrong and who's right. Because unlike chess, where like you can genuinely see a move is correct or incorrect, debating is, even though like people that are stupid are fooled by this illusion that it seems to be logical, it's all about people's feelings in the end. There's nothing logical about it. If you want to look at logic, it's chess. Chess is you can clearly see the move. It's either a correct move or an incorrect move, and an ape, the most stupid human being on earth, can see if a move is allowed or not allowed. Right? With debating, fuck knows. People think something is more logic than someone. People think somebody is being more logical than someone else just by the way they sound when they speak. Not by anything else. There's actually no basis for making someone a winner in a debate and someone a loser. Maybe I'm just uninformed. I kept thinking, can I develop a system of debate where the moves are clear and there's a clear winner and a loser, and there's clear illegal moves and there's clear legal moves, just like in chess, so we can reach a huge level of wisdom as humanity and just clearly tell who's more smart than the other, right? We would improve as a species so much if that would be the case. And you know what? Maybe someone already invented it, but I just didn't research it. I looked about nothing on debate, because people's debates generally bore me out, but they're not about things that I truly care about. And even if they are, they say things that are very, very fucking stupid. Like, they can be disproven immediately. You can just immediately say, like, ugh, there's so many problems with this person just said. Then the other person is like, they only see the easiest problem to see out of the 1,000, and they did debate on that. Like, I don't know. But I'm uninformed. I haven't seen enough debates. Maybe there's some system that genuinely makes it fair. Until then, we're basically in a fathomless sea of intuition and feelings. That's all we have. That's all we have. So, yeah. So if somebody is wrong, they're never going to say they're wrong. Because, like, nobody can prove them wrong, right? Nobody can. We can just be on an endless back and forth and never know who's actually right and who's actually wrong. But, yeah. Why did I say this to begin with? Yeah, why did I say this to begin with? Where the hell was I going? Yeah, oh yeah, these probability things, right? I don't know why I went into these times, but basically, I saw the problem, and it needed a solution, right? Oh yeah, I cannot tell whether he's right or wrong about it won't happen in all, like, under all intents and purposes, it won't happen. Okay, intents and purposes. Basically, okay, if you were writing a scientific paper about how to build a rocket, you're not going to take into account the quantum probability of a sword appearing, of an undetermined object instantly appearing inside the rocket and blowing it up. The probability is so low that in the scientific paper and the architecture of the rocket, it makes no sense to account for such an event, right? Right. That's basically what he was talking about. But I was not talking about making a plan that has to do with building something or something like that. I was talking about fear. And fear comes from uncertainty, right? If you tell me that there's a micron chance, basically indeed the quantum chance of a sword appearing inside my balls and putting me through infinite pain, of course, that's just one scenario. Basically anything goes. Even if quantum physics doesn't exist, right? There's always... Science doesn't mean shit, basically. Once you think about it, you realize that science is something we invented. It doesn't mean anything about the universe. The universe does whatever the fuck it wants. So if I am to literally instantly teleport inside a pit of hell, inside the worst torture possible that a human being would have never come up with, right? It can happen. Why wouldn't it? It is possible that it could happen. Nobody can deny it. Science denies it, but science is all about practicality. It's a bunch of intuitions based on past predictions. It's just a prediction machine. It follows the moves of the universe, and it's like very unlikely for that to happen. Gravity seems to pull two masses together. It never seems to pull against it. Never. And also, if you look at the sky, you're never going to see a Mickey Mouse face. Right? You're never going to look in the universe, look at the Andromeda galaxy, and out of nowhere, a Mickey Mouse face that is massive, about light years across, that is made out of whatever the fuck it's made of, to look like a Mickey Mouse. And it will never appear. Things don't just appear out of nowhere, right? We know that. We don't know that. We predicted it. It's a prediction. Predictions can fail. Can you prove me wrong? Of course you can't. It's the way it is. So that's the problem. It means at every single given second, something immensely horrible could happen to you. That's the power of the universe, basically. The universe can do anything it wants. It's omnipotent. I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about the universe itself. Anything could happen. Anything, ever. We cannot say, you do not have a word against anything, right? So, me being scared about it, I'm right. Him not being scared about it, something off. He is supposed to be scared about it, because it's an improbable chance of something horrible to happen, which can only mean one thing. Only one thing. Oh, actually, two things. Either one, he's ignorant, or two, he has a faith in something that he cannot determine, because of course he thinks he's a logical dude. He doesn't like religion. He doesn't fuck with any of that shit. He thinks everything he thinks is logical, right? Easily fooled. People that think they're logical, people that think they're rational are always the easiest victims to fall. They always get fooled. They always fall in traps, always, all the time, because of their ego, right? They think with their ego. In reality, all we have is feelings and intuition. Just analyze it. And that's the problem, right? So how did I... But he would infinitely tell me that I'm wrong, continuously. He would just tell me, what do you mean? It won't happen because the probability is low. I was like, that's not the definition of probability. If a probability is not zero, then that doesn't mean it won't happen. That means it's possible. And he said, yeah, but for all intents and purposes, it won't happen. Right? So basically, he had a faith that the probability is actually zero. That's what I tried arguing against him, but it didn't work. I don't remember how the conversation turned out. This was years ago or something. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years or something. I don't have a good perception of time. But wait, let me stop looking at myself because that's driving me insane. So yeah. What was I saying? Yeah. You see the problem here. People don't see this problem. That's kind of what fascinates me. What the hell is the mechanism in their brain that makes them just go, yeah, but that won't happen? What if you get teleported inside a pit of hell right now? Yeah, but that won't happen. Science disproves that. Even if you tell them, well, science is just a prediction machine, as I said, and you genuinely explain all of this to them, and they genuinely understand that it's actually unprovable whether it will happen or not. They'll be like, yeah, but it won't happen to me. What? What? Why? What? Where did they get that from? So, they have faith in something, bro, but they don't realize it. Their brain doesn't analyze it, right? It doesn't do self-meta-analysis. There's no metacognition in anything they say. This is how I can tell that maybe my intuition says that I'm genuinely smarter than them. Like I can see a threat that they cannot see, right? And they have a faith against it that they don't see. But my faith is conscious. I'm genuinely working, trying to build trust. The only antidote to fear is trust. Trust that the probability is actually zero. It's not a Googleplex zeros, like immensely small, incredibly infinitesimally smaller than 1 divided by all fucking protons in the universe. No, it's zero, completely zero, absolutely zero, because there's a higher order in the universe that makes it impossible, and my faith said so. I have faith that that's the case, because if I don't have this faith, this trust in God or whatever the fuck, I'm fucked. I know this. I know I'm fucked, but people don't see it. People don't see it. They just say, oh, this is unreasonable or something like that, right? But I see the threat. And it's undeniable, right? If you analyze this, like, everything. This is one problem. Another problem is nothingness after death. And this is a whole bag of snakes on its own. First off, let's analyze how we came up with knowledge to begin with. So, in my thinking, there's only 3 things that are possible. So there's observation. We have our senses, whatever, we observe things, right? We observe things. We have intuition. So when we observe things, we have certain intuition about certain things. We for some reason, if we look at a bear that kills a mouse or something, we're like, or I don't know, whatever the bear kills, a smaller animal, our intuition says that's always that animal is never going to win against the bear. How the fuck do we compute that? Do you think about this? Are you with me in this? How the fuck do we know that? But we just looked at it, we just observed it, and our intuition says a tiny animal has absolutely no way of killing a bear, right? Now we're a bit more advanced and we can say maybe there's a mosquito that will bite the bear and just kill it or something. But let's just ignore all of that. Let's just pretend you're an ape in the forest, right? And you just look at a big ass fucking monstrous animal and you see it killing a smaller animal. And you run the fuck away. How did your intuition tell that the animal is a threat to you? And how did your intuition tell that the smaller animal is never going to win against the bear? That's genuinely a true, like, that's genuinely a statement about the universe. Do you realize the universe is just uncertainty? There's nothing certain about the universe, and your intuition was capable of making a certain statement that has a high probability of occurring. Where did that probability come from? God fucking knows. Nobody knows where the fuck that come from. Your intuition, maybe you can build a logical chain that builds to it. You can say, okay, but the intuition will come first. Remember what I said about the unconscious mind. It first gives you the solution, and then building the logical chain of why that solution is correct, how you would have come up with that solution is the most of the work, and is a separate work in itself, and is actually most of the work, right? And so you first know that the bear is stronger than that tiny ass animal. But why, right? So then you go like, okay, he has a mouth, and that mouth can bite. He's very strong, very muscular, and generally, if an animal has a higher musculature and his teeth are sharp, then it's generally more powerful than an animal that looks more frail and looks like this. You just found a couple. Is this a logical chain? Nope. There's no logic in anything you said. You just basically, your intuition, you basically just invented 3 more intuitive statements just based on your intuition that connect to this statement, all 3 of them. But there's no logic anywhere. You just basically, your unconscious mind just came up with 3 things that are intuitive. You see what I mean here? You cannot say, so there's just observation and intuition, basically. And actually, all of science, all of wisdom, all of philosophy, all these things that we camouflage because of delusions, because we have an ego, people have an ego, we camouflage them to be perfect rationality and logic. They're actually all based on intuition. Every single axiom we have about the universe is based on intuition. And the third thing, because the puzzle wouldn't be complete if I didn't add the third thing, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking 2 + 2 = 4, and that's a statement that will always be true and false, and it's not intuition. I got you. The third thing we have against the universe is labeling. Labeling is actually based on intuition. Actually, no, it's not based on intuition. Labeling is a whole thing itself. And labeling is an ability completely unique to the mind. The mind, the universe has no labels. It just fucking is. Everything just is. For some reason, if you look around your room, or if you look in a forest, you see trees, and your mind looks at that tree as if it's a separate entity from everything else around it. But there's actually nothing guiding that. It's just a property of the mind. The mind seems to see labels anywhere. You can look at the tree. We see the world in labels that have abstractions and generalizations. You see the whole forest. You analyze the whole forest. You see it composed of trees, right? And that every tree is an entity on its own. Then you look at the tree, you look at every branch as if every branch is an entity on its own. So we see entities that are composed of other entities. We see systems that are composed of smaller systems that compose them. A galaxy is made of stars, and there's a black hole in the center. What? Well, you get what I mean. The universe does not actually inherently have any labels. We just invented them. Our mind, and this is honestly, I just came up with this thought, and it just blew me away. If the universe has no labels, but our mind is capable of labeling, but our mind is part of the universe, this is a paradox. This is a paradox. I just came up with one of the most insane paradoxes in human wisdom. The universe has no labels. Nothing. And just analyze the data. I mean, when you were like, there's absolutely nothing that makes this tree separate from the grass, or makes you separate from the tree. There's absolutely nothing that says this is me, a human being, and that's a tree. Nothing. The universe knows none of that. There's no such thing as a separation, right? Everything just is, and everything is just a mumbo jumbo of just mumbo jumbo, right? There's no labeling to anything, right? Yet our minds inherently do this labeling thing that separates concepts and separates them into separate entities, right? And this labeling is how we invent games. What is a game? Math is a game. Chess is a game. Physics is the connection between a framework of games and observed reality. Basically, it tries to frame reality. It uses the scientific method. The scientific method is basically a prediction machine, and it just predicts reality based on games. And for some fucking reason, the universe is nice enough to the point where it respects our fucking math. It's unbelievable. The universe has nothing to do with math. To me, it just blows me away that we can do integrals and derivatives, and they actually tell us something about the laws of electricity. It's just, what? It's like, what the fuck? Because, like, the universe has nothing to do with our mind. If you analyze our mind and you analyze the universe, they have nothing to do with each other. We label things, we say this is that, this is this. The bear kills smaller animals, but according to the universe, everything just is the way it is. There's no this is this, that is that. There's no if this happened, then this will happen. There's no such thing as what? Quantity. There's no such thing as a number, right? Here's why I say math is based on the concept of human games, but invented by the human mind, and the game is based on labeling. The way we came up with numbers is basically it came from labeling, which is saying this is this, that is that, basically. Because you look inside someone's farm, and you see there's 5 cows, but the other guy has 3 cows, right? So you intuitively, your mind for some reason has this built-in mechanism where it looks at one's farm, it looks at the other's farm, and it's for some reason comes up with this property that this guy has more animals than the other. And actually, I know that if 2 cows died, if I killed twice, then if I killed a cow twice in his farm, then they would be equal. It's something completely come up with the mind, with labeling, because we labeled a cow as a separate entity from the rest of the universe. And we saw 5 entities there and 3 entities there, and we came up with numbers, an abstraction. And slowly it built into this thing called math, which is actually a game. Humans invented the game. They invented chess. They invented mahjong. Mahjong? The fuck do you say mahjong in English? It's an Asian game. Invented Go. It invented Counter-Strike. It invented Call of Duty. Invented programming in general. What else is a game based on labeling of the human mind? Furniture. Actually, I don't know. For some reason, we have this idea that this is a table, and this is a fucking, right? And we have the idea that this is a hand, right? Well, for some reason, we separate this hand from the rest of the body, right? Even though it's like, you get what I mean? This is a finger, but we have no word for like the specific 2 centimeters part of it. Or let me come up with something even more random that there's no way anyone would have thought about it. We have no word for the hairs that are in this specific part of the hand. There's no word for this. But for some reason we have a concept that this is a hand. But what is this? What is this part over here? Someone can come up with a label. You can just say, okay, this part is, I'm gonna call it Severophalohemoral cortex thing. I don't know. Fucking doctors are very good at labeling. They just label everything because it's useful for medicine or some shit. But they didn't find a use to label this, right? But we can label anything at all, ever. We can just come up with a label on it. But the universe doesn't give a fuck. The universe just, everything is. And this is why when you hear those spiritually enlightened individuals say that we are all one and everything is one, they're kind of like, they somehow remove the labeling from their mind. That's pretty fucking nuts. Do you imagine how rare and crazy that is? Labeling is literally what made us come up with everything. Everything. I mean, genuinely everything. All human knowledge is based on labeling. Ever. Like, all of it. And we come up with it, and labeling and intuition work together, right? So this is what we have. So why did I start talking about this? Because I want to get into the afterlife, and I want to explain why the concepts of that the oblivionists are saying about human brain activity, consciousness being on, why they're all brain dead. Why all of their statements are like a toddler saying 2 + 2 equal. It's like a toddler saying 2 + 2 = 4 because the shape of the 2's is like this and they're curved, and the 4 is like rigid. So if you have 2 things that are curved together, you get rigid. You look at the toddler like, what is this little thing saying right now? It has absolutely nothing to do with how math works, but but this implies that there's a way to rationalize what they're saying in a correct fashion. Like there is a way to rationalize 2 + 2 = 4, which I'm not sure if that's the case. So this example is kind of bullshit, but whatever. So here's how I'm gonna build into it. We seem to have this the universe seems to have this weird thing where it keeps a promise that it never said with any word, but it keeps it like holds onto it to dear life. Like it never seems to break any promise. For example, for some goddamn reason, whenever I touch an object, I'm gonna sound the same. You've noticed that like whenever you touch an object, your finger never goes through it ever, except if it's some liquid. But if it's like a solid object, your finger will never ever go through it. This table, my finger's not going through it. My fingers are not going through each other. The universe never does this for some reason. So if you have the statement, nothing ever goes through it, something else. If you have 2 solid things, nothing ever goes through each other. Of course, there's a scientific rhetoric that there's a 1 in a Googleplex chance that it will actually go through each other because of random probability, and the theory of my fucking asshole, and the theory of skibbity toilets or whatever the fuck. I just used a brain rot term. Please forgive me. I don't know. I don't know why it came. I didn't know skibbity toilets were a thing until my German friend showed me about them, because I'm not very often immersed in the Western internet. So I actually used to be pure, but someone depurified me with brute force. Okay. Whatever. I didn't mean to say, but whatever. Like, what the fuck was I saying? Yeah, that science basically says that there's a probability. Fuck that for a second. Put it aside. that what I'm saying is beyond science. So if a scientific thought ever comes to you, just throw it away because it has nothing to do with the discussion, right? So just to make this easier, I want to just throw science away. Science is just a prediction machine. It's just something we invented. It's one of the games we invented. It's just, but I'm talking about something deeper than that. So I'm talking about the framework that builds wisdom, knowledge itself, that then builds on philosophy, then builds on science, then builds on on top of these. I'm talking about the base of the base of the base here. So in the same way that you cannot talk about the quadratic formula until you define what addition means. While you're trying to define addition, you're not going to talk about the quadratic formula, are you? Because that's something that builds on top of it, right? That's what I mean here. We are not supposed to bring in science because science is an instantiation of everything I'm saying right now. It's an instantiation, right? You know that word, right? It's the opposite of generalization, basically. So yeah, I'm generalizing everything. I'm generalizing the entire universe right now, like I'm the fucking Buddha here, okay? So this never seems to happen. Gravity never seems to pull two objects apart. But okay, that gravity is actually a scientific it's a scientific fucking construct, so I should avoid it. It's something that's built upon what I'm about to build here on the base. So fuck that. Let's be simple here, okay? Let's be fucking simple. Your hands never go through each other, and for some reason this seems to be a truth that never gets disobeyed, right? Things always fall down, never disobeyed, ever. The universe never goes against these, ever. Not never. We've never observed, like, no matter, you can live a life of 80 years, and it seems like you're never going to observe these laws being broken. Your fingers will never go through each other, and this will never go up if you drop it. In normal conditions, right? Let's be simple here. And you can come up with some arguments like, well, there are some conditions where this will go up because you can do this and that and magnets and shit like that. Or there are some mind tricks where this is irrelevant. Proving me wrong about these specific things is irrelevant because there will always be I'm just saying some basic examples about a phenomenon that seems to be universal, that the universe always seems to hold some promises. Or it doesn't. It's kind of weird what these promises are. They're usually material, but it always seems to hold these promises for some reason, and it holds them to dear life, like it never broke them twice, according to human observation. We don't know what needs to happen for those to be broken. We don't know if they will ever be broken or if they will never be broken at all. But if we are to analyze the probabilities, it's basically, if we take all human anecdotes, I don't think there was ever an anecdote of someone breaking, this or this or this, right? So there are some disproportionately, ridiculously high probabilities for some events of the universe. And I'm going to call this the great practicality. Like the practicality with a big P, right? Practicality. Because this is what actually practicality is based upon. These kind of predictions that seem to be very, very solid. But of course, you cannot say they're wrong or right. Maybe they'll be broke. Maybe the universe will even break those eventually, That's why science is not certain. Philosophy is not certain. Wisdom is not certain. Nothing is fucking certain because the universe doesn't know what certainty is. Doesn't know what uncertainty or whatever the fuck. But for some reason, at the same time, it seems to be very low probability that if gravity will ever be broken, it seems to be very low probability that your fingers will ever go to each other. There are some probabilities that are just ridiculously high, right? If you analyze them. So, if you are to base yourself and your reasoning and your labeling and intuition on these, you're building on very solid ground. That's all I can say. I cannot say whether you're right or wrong. Maybe they will break eventually, right? If you're a scientist, if you've lived your entire life thinking about that life can be reasoned with perfect reason and science and statements that are facts and logic and true and false, It's like you're probably going to think that I'm kind of like you're probably going to be offended by what I'm saying here, because like the world is so full of stupid people and all that. And it kind of feels like I'm taking their side here. I'm not. I'm your biggest fucking ally. You know why? Because you've been inside a car, driving it your entire life, but you've never gotten outside the car to see the wheels moving, right? And humanity, so like the car is an analogy for science and wisdom, right? It's an analogy for science and critical thinking. The car. And the tires are an analogy for the base that I'm building here of the universe knows no certainty. Nothing is certain. All we have is our intuition, which is our feelings, and our mental labeling, our ability to separate things from each other. Right? So, these are the wheels that are spinning continuously below your car, but you're never looking at them. Right? And the reason I'm the only person that's ever thought about this, that's ever literally gotten out of the car and seen how the fuck does this thing move. But scientists, all they look at is the car moves forward. If I turn the steering wheels, it moves to the right. If I turn the steering wheel, it moves to the left. But they never actually saw the wheels. Why did they never see the wheels? Because they never needed to. They never got, the wheels never broke. The tires never ran out of air. The tires never, what is it called when you say in Romanian? It's Pana. The cars never failed. The wheels of the cars never failed. That's why. That's why they never needed to stop the car, open the door, and look outside the car. Right? They never needed. I'm just opening. I just got a flashy. I have like this fucking wallpaper engine. I have this wallpaper engine thing where it has a playlist, and now it's a really flashy thing of like Thenix and stuff. So it's kind of distracting me. So that's why I just opened a tab of just empty tab on the browser. I'm just looking at this because it's just easier on me. But whatever. So, what the fuck was I saying? This is such a pattern. I think I forgot what I was saying like multiple times now. So, yeah, the scientists are inside the car. The tires have never failed, so they have no reason to get out of the car. And this is why humanity has never actually thought about what it is that actually makes the car move, right? What it is that actually makes science work. Because it's not facts and logic. They don't actually exist. That's the biggest misconception humanity has ever gotten. There's no such thing as facts and logic. There's no such thing as certainty. The universe is completely and utterly uncertain. And all we have is our intuition, our feelings, and our labels. And we merge this intuition and labels to make predictions, which are based on our feelings, and we call that science. So science has actually nothing to do with facts and logic. It's just feelings. But it's feelings that are based on very strong intuitions that if there is no instance of this object ever falling upwards in the history of humanity, then it will never fall downwards. That's my prediction. My prediction is that if I stay inside this room for 80 years, the rest of my life, and keep doing this object will never fall upwards, not even once. This is my feelings. This is my prediction. Because I always see it doing this. I never see it doing this. So it's like, it will never happen. But based on what? Right? The universe never promised to you that it will never go up. You just used your feelings and your intuition saying it will always go down. Right? It's just a prediction based on feelings. So, if this is all we got, that means all of science is actually built on feelings. All of it is just feelings. It's just feelings and intuition. But it's feelings on intuition, and intuition on things that are very, very, like, solid. Like, they never seem, for some reason, this never goes up. So, me saying that it's just feelings, they come at, like, if you're a scientist watching this, you're gonna come at me like, yeah, bro, but it will never go up. So what the fuck are you on about? Why did you build this useless shit, making us look stupid, us scientists? You're making us look stupid for what? Saying that there's a probability of this thing going up? It will never go up. Never. And I'll ask you why. Why will it never go up? Because I've never seen it go up. So that means, yeah, of course the scientists are going to be offended, right? Because I'm literally calling all of science feelings. But they're going to be offended because, like, okay, they're going to be like, okay, but it's not like feelings. Because like some people who are not scientific, we are the scientists. We are trying to make the world a better place by at least basing the world on things that are. How is this not reason and logic? I got you. I told you I'm your biggest ally. I'm gonna tell you why you feel like that what I'm saying is off. You cannot prove me wrong, but at the same time you were pissed off about something and you don't know exactly what it is, right? I'm gonna solve that for you. I know exactly what it is because I see more than you do. So I did tell you that science is based on feelings, and the reason you're pissed off is not because there's a counter argument to this. There's no counter argument to this. Science is feelings. End of the story. What you're actually pissed off is that the word feelings is a bit ambiguous, because we all know human language is fucked. Everything is ambiguous, everything is screwed, everything is prone to misconception, everything is prone to misunderstanding. We have only one word for anger, but anger is actually multiple emotions that have nothing to do with each other. The anger is you being angry at your computer not working, and the anger that makes you save your family member from certain death is a completely different emotion, but we call both of those anger because our language is fucked. Human language is just fucked. But yeah, the word feelings is also fucked, because the feeling that you have a feeling that this will never go up is different from the feeling that I am supposed to kill 100 people for God to accept me. Right? You know ISIS, you know terrorists. There are some terrorists that have religious skepticism, and I can actually tell whether they whether it's a problem of whether their conception of God is just wrong, or whether it's just a different perspective. Because it's weird. You cannot actually say in ethics that killing a person is bad, because what are you gonna do if someone is threatening your family with a knife? It's threatening to kill your little child, your beautiful little sister, your beautiful little innocent dog, and they are psychopaths. They're Ted Bundy, and they want to rape them and kill them. Are you wrong for killing that rapist criminal and defending your family, right? So, okay, killing people is out of the question. We cannot tell whether killing someone is bad or good. Okay, it could be self-defense. But killing someone, if it's not self-defense, is bad, right? Okay, how can you tell whether something is self-defense or not? And then you go, oh, fuck, if you're smart. If not, you're gonna come up with some other bullshit that I can always, this can go on forever. So these terrorists, we cannot actually tell anything about them. But okay, back to the scientists. I wanted to explain why you're offended. Why if you're a scientist, atheist, nihilist, oblivionist, you're gonna be offended with what I'm saying. Because I literally made the statement that science is feelings, and that's an offensive statement. Because I'm literally comparing you to people who literally run their lives by their feelings, and they're being stupid. They're not listening to science, and they're causing the world a lot of problems, right? We all know who these people are. The flat earthers that try to convince you that the Earth being round is a lie made by NASA. They try to make you pull on tinfoil hats on. You know, the people who oh yeah, I have a good example that is in practical life. There are some people that genuinely 5G towers. They see some shit on Facebook, and then they team up to just destroy the towers, destroy human technology, cause a lot of damages. And the science says that 5G has no way of hurting you, right? So these people are ruled by their stupidity and their feelings. The stupidity and feelings rule their actions, right? And I'm saying feelings and ignorance also rule the scientists' actions. And it's an offensive statement because human language is ambiguous. And it kind of sounds like I'm pulling the equal sign between the scientists that are trying to solve cancer, right, and save people's lives, and people who are flat earthers and people who are destroying the 5G towers, which are obviously fucking morons, right? So it feels like I'm putting the equal sign between the scientists that are trying to make the world a better place and the stupid people that are making the world hard to live in, right? Obviously you're offended because this is not fair. How much effort have you put in your thought, your theories, your math, your biology? How much effort and thought you've put into it to try to make the world better with reason and logic? And how these people barely take a thought and just piss all over your work? How could you not be offended if I tell you there's an equal sign between you and them? But obviously, my dear scientist, there is not an equal sign between you and them. The difference between a scientist and a dumbass, they both use their feelings, right? There's no such thing as facts and logic. They both just use their feelings to make statements, right? That's not the difference. The difference is that the scientist's feelings and intuition is based on these things that are very, very promisable by the universe, while the stupid person bases their intuition on things that are way more risky, right? They basically base their intuition on very low probability things. They look at a political event, at politics from a one-sided perspective, right? Which can easily turn out to be wrong, because like it's a one-sided perspective, right? They look at, you might be thinking I'm stupid, because like, this guy thinks this thing can ever go up. No, that's a moron. That's a moron. If he says that there's a 50% chance for this to go down and up, you're going to prove him wrong instantly, right? That's just how many times you need to do this, right? Stupid people base their feelings and intuition on risky things that have a low probability of being correct. They don't go into the full thought experiment of trying to branch out the relabeling and intuition into things that eventually branch out into things that have like 99% probability or something like that, right? An anecdotal certainty, pseudo certainty, because certainty doesn't exist, as I said. Well, meanwhile, scientists, if you break down all of scientific reason and try to like branch it out into its parts and try to make it as general as possible, build the foundations of science, it all eventually comes down to feelings and intuition that is built on way more stable and reasonable feelings about things that seem to be even promised by the universe. There are some things which you can genuinely say have genuinely 100% probability of happening. Why? Humans have never observed any moment when the universe did not listen to that law, right? So again, that means, because the scientists observed something to be always true throughout human history, the universe never broke that law. Their tires never failed. So they never needed to get outside their cars to check that the tires are spinning to make the cars move. Because the tires never broke. But I'm just telling you about the existence of the tires. That's what I'm telling you. I'm not telling you they're ever going to break. I don't know that. But I'm just telling you, like, there's nothing telling you that they will never break. It just kind of seems like they just don't seem to break. But if you I'm the only guy that just got out of this car, looked at what makes it move, and be like, okay, there's tires and they spin, right? The analogy for the car is the science and the wisdom and the philosophy, right? Human knowledge and wisdom and facts and whatever we call facts and stuff, right? And the tires that nobody looks up at is how all of this works and spins because of three things: observation, intuition, and labeling. These are all feelings. All of these are related to feelings. Even observation is kind of our feelings, because many times what we see is interpreted. We interpret something to be something else, you know. It can happen. And in fact, scientists have even genuinely scientifically agreed that the nature of our universe depends on whether we look at it or not. It's the quantum slit experiment. I don't know how they stayed sane after that, because if I were a scientist and like I would genuinely be looking at the particles and they act one way, and then I stop looking and they act another, I would genuinely be thinking there's something off with my experiment non-stop, and I would try to fix it non-stop until I genuinely go insane and genuinely quit science. But these scientists are so perseverant and disciplined and hardworking that they genuinely got to the point where they genuinely made the conclusion that the nature of the universe itself depends on on us observing it or not at all, and how we look at it. So the universe is actually kind of subjective. That's crazy. And I respect these people. I have huge respect for these people. I have huge respect for science, and I have huge respect for math, and that's why I'm learning it, because I want to see if I can make a contribution to this world. But I'm not deluding myself. I know the tires that are spinning to move my car. I know that all of science is actually feelings. I'm not deluding myself. So now we got that out of the way, right? And here's how we get into the afterlife. Compared to the real world that we're in right now, that we can observe and stuff, we can observe that some probabilities are very high and some are very low. Even though the universe is uncertain, it seems to have some pinky finger promises that I will never do this. We don't know if they will keep them or not, but we'll see. Right? At least we have those as framing points. At least our feelings can be based on these things which are very stable, right? Seem to never change. However, when it comes to the afterlife, if you exclude near-death experiences and all that, we have genuinely nothing. Genuinely. There's no... Of course, there's no statement that you can make even about this universe that can be certain. But at least you have these things which seem to have a very solid probability, right? But when it comes to the afterlife, we genuinely have nothing. We don't even have reasonability, right? So it means that not only can't you say anything about the afterlife, you cannot say anything about this universe either without it being uncertain, right? That's the nature of the universe, uncertainty, right? You cannot say anything about the universe without it being uncertain. And you cannot say anything about the afterlife without it being uncertain. That's not a big difference. It's the same. So they don't differ in that sense. But where the afterlife differs is that we actually don't have any probabilities either, right? There is no probability analysis for the afterlife, right? Because there is no analysis of anything ever happening in the afterlife. There's no anecdotes. There's no observation. There's no nothing. Nobody knows except the people who died, right? You know the saying. So we have nothing, which means that every single statement that you make about the afterlife is faith. It's what it means. So whenever you say anything about the afterlife, it's faith. Whenever you say anything about the universe, that's also faith, because you have faith that this will never go up. That's actually faith, because the universe never actually made you a promise that it will never go down. It's just, the probability is very so high that it just never was observed to happen. But in the afterlife, you don't even have these high probabilities, Of course, everything is based on feelings and faith, but the scientists are smarter than the fucking tinfoil, than the stupid people. The people who obviously intuitively know they're morons, but we don't know why they're we cannot argue why they're morons. I just gave you an argument to literally separate intelligence and stupidity. Intelligence is when everything you say and every statement you make is based on high probability stuff that is very stable. And stupidity is where you risk, where you base your statements on things that have a very unlikely probability, right? And regarding the universe, of course, right? That's how you can tell when someone's more intelligent and someone's more stupid. But you're gonna be like, well, what are you gonna say about the probabilistic scientists then that analyze probabilities? God fucking damn it. They're saying exact things, for God's sake. They're saying it because like if you analyze a casino, if you analyze its probabilities, you're actually talking about exact shit, even though it's a probability, right? So that's why they're more intelligent. Whatever. This is fucking complicated. It's like I cannot say it with words. I know the argument that the words are not coming. You give me a fucking jab, whatever. But in general, you agree that this is the case. I just explained your feelings just now. Whenever you feel that a person is stupider than another, what's actually happening is that the person is actually basing their feelings on things that are risky, and the person that's intelligent is basing their feelings on things that are more stable, right? So, but feelings are feelings. Everything is feelings. Everything is faith. The problem is with the afterlife that because there are no probabilities, we cannot tell whether a statement that someone made has a bigger probability of happening than a statement that someone else made, right? So that means no matter what you say about the afterlife, you're not more intelligent. Your statement is not more intelligent than what someone else said about the afterlife. That's why, like, the afterlife is not just faith in a philosophical sense of the universe, that there's no facts and logic, but that's a bit of an esoteric concept because your fingers never go through each other or whatever the fuck. But with the afterlife, it's like genuinely the case. Like genuinely, it's just pure faith. Whatever you say about the afterlife is pure faith. Can we get that straight? There's never any fact, never any logic. I don't know who you listen to, Alan Watts, whatever the fuck, I don't know. Whoever indoctrinated you, because it is faith. If you think that what you think about the afterlife is based on reason, then you're just being deluded. You're being stupid. That's that's false. That's genuinely false. You're being deluded, you're deluding yourself, you're deluding everyone. It is faith. At least within the system that we have no anecdotal evidence about the afterlife, which near-death experience, if we take those into account, if you take the spiritualists into the account, things get fucking complicated because there start to be some probabilities here and there. But we're not taking these into account, okay? We're not taking near-death experience, and we're not taking spirituality, at least for now. At least now, because I think it's more useful to understand this without these concepts first, and then adding them on later. So if we don't have any of this, then afterlife, you cannot say anything that is right about. You cannot say anything that is any probability about the afterlife. So everything is just pure faith that has no level of higher wisdom than anything anybody else says. So if we don't have any of these, then someone saying that you either go to heaven or hell has the same level of availability as someone that saying that you go to some spaghetti monster. Anything goes, basically, right? And then you have these fucking atheists saying, well, you will not have your brain anymore, so you will not feel pain anymore. And they think they made a logical statement. Do you understand now why I just like this? Do you understand now? All they said is faith. They based their feelings on the whatever the fuck they know about the brain, that it does this and that. They don't even read science, bro. They just say some shit like that, right? They don't even read any of this shit. They don't even. I don't think many of these people haven't ever read a fucking scientific paper in their fucking lives. But they just say this shit about their brain, even if it's fucking right. You understand now, seeing this backstory, this whole build-up, long-ass build-up, why this statement doesn't make any sense. Well, why doesn't it make any sense? Simple. Anything goes. I can just, okay. It's a realm of infinite possibility because there's no probability. So nothing is more viable than anything else. So what's stupid about what they're saying? What makes them way, way far more appalling than the religious people, even the religious extremists? What the atheists are saying about oblivion is appalling, and it's an abomination and an insult to human wisdom, is that they pretend it's wisdom, they pretend it's logic, they pretend it's facts. They pretend it is. Meanwhile, at least the fucking religious people, at least they admit it's faith. At least they admit it. Never has a religious person said, well, this is logical, obviously God exists. And obviously there's heaven and hell because it's logical. Just look around you, gravity goes down. Duh. That's why. They never said something like that. They never put a coat around them, making them a white coat around them, making them look like a fucking scientist. Yet these oblivionists, atheists, nihilists, whatever, talking about death, they act like it's wisdom. They act like it's science. They act like it's fucking, dear God, right? Dear God Almighty, that's a fucking abomination. It's just an abomination and an insult to human wisdom. It's completely appalling, right? That's why I'm against it. So what they're saying is no more reasonable than someone saying that you're going to see a giant pile of spaghetti that has a Mickey Mouse face on top, and then there's unicorns running everywhere, and you're taking a shit because you cannot stop taking a shit, because the afterlife is actually, you cannot stop taking shits because you just keep taking a shit. And also the sky is just pink that turns blue. Imagine the most random, arbitrary, complete bullshit unicorny stuff. It's equivalent to what they're saying. It has no more reason, no more logic, no more anything than what they're saying, right? Then give a scenario where they're wrong. Simple. There's no pain because you have no brain, and when the brain is dead, consciousness is dead, so there's no pain. Okay. I'm just gonna spawn you, give you another body, and just stick a fucking sword inside you. How's that? You're feeling pain, you have a brain again, everything is solved. Can you tell me that that's less likely than what they're saying? No, because there's no probability. You cannot even be more intelligent than another person compared to this world, where the intelligent person bases what they say on the higher probability. Like the things that their probability even seems to be 100% because the universe never broke them in the known history of mankind, right? You can base these on those and be very fucking intelligent, because the people who are stupid base them on risky things, right? In the afterlife, you don't even have that. You have nothing. So my statement is not stupider than yours, because yours is based on the concept that is available in this world, in this realm, right? We don't know if the same shit applies in the afterlife, right? Okay, first one busted. What's the other one? Well, it will be the same as it was before you were born, right? Here's where the atheists get a very, very interesting and insidious delusion that basically denies my statement that there's no probability known about the afterlife, right? They basically say the only probability known unobserved about the afterlife is the fact that we know there was nothing before it because we don't remember anything. So it's the only likely probability to happen. So that's why my statement is more intelligent than any other statement ever made by mankind about afterlife, because this is the only one. Pay attention to what I said. I said before that the afterlife has no known probabilities ever because there was no anecdotal observation. Yet these atheists say that there is only one. The fact that you don't remember anything about it, which means there was nothing, right? So if they are right, it means my entire structure of probability saying that there's no probability about the afterlife goes to shit, right? Well, it's a delusion. It's so stupid. I remember hearing this once and being like, oh my god, this actually makes sense. But then I realized, wait a minute. It doesn't make any sense. I can even bust this using reasonability. The things that I said here, it's basically people abusing reasonability of the current world to try to predict things that are beyond them, right? Because they're used to reasonability. Reasonability, I defined the word reasonability with a big R, to mean these probabilities that the universe has never broken, right? These are the reasonability. These are the barriers of the reasonability. The fact that this never went down, the fact that your fingers never went through each other, the promises that the universe seemed to hold without ever telling you that it was a promise. So you don't know if it's a promise or not, but you just know it never happens. No, you don't know. You just feel like it never happens because you've never seen it not happen, right? So it's a prediction machine. So, yeah. Is that actually viable data? The fact that there's nothing because you don't remember nothing. And I can actually beat that with fucking reasonability. The thing they used against me and told them that reasonability does not apply to the afterlife because there's no anecdotes, there's no anything, right? So I can even beat them with their own sword at this one. That's how stupid this statement is. Watch me. They say you don't remember anything before you died. So because you didn't have any consciousness before you were born, my bad. It's because you didn't have any consciousness before you were born. I'm going to use reasonability to just destroy this. When did your memory start? When was your earliest memory? It was not when your consciousness started. So just because your first memory was when you were 4 years old or something, does that mean that in the period when you were 1 year old and 4 year old, your consciousness didn't exist? No, it doesn't. Which means this is a perfect anecdote based on reasonability, the law of universal reasonability, that consciousness, the absence or presence of consciousness, has nothing to do with memory. So it's out. Memory has nothing to do. You don't remember anything happening before you were born, but you don't remember anything happening before you were 4. So memory has nothing to do. And you can forget something. And what does it feel like when you forget something? Exactly like this mysterious nothingness oblivion, like they talked about. So it's everywhere. This holds everywhere. It's the stupidest statement on planet Earth. It's the biggest abomination and insult to human wisdom. Prove me wrong, please. I want to be smarter. If you're smarter than me, show me you're splendid. But Try. I think the shit I'm saying is pretty solid, right? Because, like, so it doesn't even have anything to do with consciousness. The reason you don't remember anything before you were born is because you don't remember it. Doesn't mean nothing happened. Maybe nothing happened, maybe it did happen, but it has nothing to do with the argument. So, this does not, your absence of memory about an experience of this outer world, which could be the afterlife associated with it maybe, does not count even as a valid anecdote, even within the framework of reasonability that science is based upon. You stumbled on your own shoes. You stumbled on your own fucking shoelaces. You tried to use science against me and you failed at your own fucking science. Could you believe that? So I just destroyed it with their own weapon. Right? Now, I'm going to use my weapon, which is way more stronger than theirs. So, how can you tell that the world before being born is the same as the world after you die? Okay, straight out busted. If there's any anecdote before you were born, so you can say, of course, there's no, actually, yeah, that counts as an anecdote because you can associate them and have a feeling about them. I'm trying to argue that you cannot even have a feeling about the afterlife without it being stupid or infinitely intelligent. You know, it's either stupid or infinitely intelligent because there's no probabilities. That's what I meant to say. But how can you associate what was before life with the afterlife? Okay, that was something I cannot argue that, so I'll just leave it at this, right? Okay, second one, busted, destroyed. You even use their own shoelaces to make them stumble upon them, right? So the brain argument about pain is done. The fucking, it was just before we were born one is done. What's left? What was the first one? You will have no consciousness, so you will not feel any peace and any pain. And this one is another story on its own. And I want to propose something for the rest of human wisdom and the rest of humanity and the rest of philosophy. I want to propose one rule. Never, because, okay, so mathematics has this rule that you shall never divide by 0. Why do you think it does? So you probably know the fact that if you approach 1/0 from the positive side, you get an infinitely positive number, right? But if you approach it from the negative side, it seems to approach an infinite negativity. So they seem to approach things that are completely offset. When I was a little kid in, I think, gymnasium, I was 8th grade or something, I was about to go to high school. I think it was before I went to high school. I thought I could outsmart division by 0. You know what I did? I built a circle, right? I drew a circle, and at the bottom of the circle, I marked it 0, right? On the right, I marked the positive number line, but I did it in fragments of 2. You know the whole paradox of the ancient philosophers or whatever, whoever invented this one, you probably saw it on interesting YouTube videos. Like, let's say you are about to walk 1 meter, but you walk half a meter, and then 1/4 of a meter, then 1/8 of a meter, and you keep getting closer to your destination, but you never reach it. This paradox, right? You keep getting closer to it, but you never reach it. You know this paradox, right? Well, I knew this paradox, and I was like, okay, it's not even a paradox, you just keep approaching it, but whatever. It's 0. I was like, okay, I'm gonna use it, but I'm gonna make it a circle. I thought I was a genius. I thought I had this genius fucking idea as a kid, right? So I fucking drew this circle, put 0 on the bottom, and on the right, I put 1, right? Did I put 1? Yeah, I think I put 1. Then on the left, I put -1. Then a quarter, right? Because, like, the immediate right of the circle is like half the circle, right? I mean, it's a quarter of the circle, my bad. It's a quarter, right? So this is a quarter of a circle, right? So this is 1. Then at 1/8 of a circle, I put 2. Then a 16th of the circle, I put 4. So I double them as the circle goes. So obviously, as I approach the top of the circle, it goes towards positive infinity and towards negative infinity. And here, at the top of the circle, I put 1/0. Boom! Solved. Dumbasses. All mathematicians are dumbasses. I'm smarter than them, I thought. right? And I was like, okay, if 1 over 0 diverges between the negative and then diverges in the positive direction like this, that means they're actually tied together. So if you like go an infinite distance positively, you actually return on the negative side. And I thought this makes sense because even if you add, like on your computer, if you add to a positive integer that is saved on a limited byte space, right? There's this thing called integer overflow in computers, where if it goes past a certain power of 2, you get to like 2 billion whatever, and then you add 1 and it goes minus 2 billion or something, right? So it's almost the same number, probably different with 1 or 0 or something like that, and it's minus. So positive infinity is equal to negative infinity, because infinity multiplied by anything is infinity, even multiplied by minus 1 is still infinity, right? So infinity is infinity, it's equal to 1 over 0, but they both approach that thing. So if you go past infinity to the other, you get the other side, but you're never going to get there, so it's never going to be a problem, right? So like, yeah, I solved math whenever 0 division is available, right? This was just the parentheses. By the way, the thing about the computers is just unrelated. It just doesn't make any sense, but yeah. So I was smart, right? But I think seeing how creative mathematicians are and how intelligent they are, I think they've already come up with this idea at some point. I don't think I'm the first person to have come up, but it was ditched. So they had to have a reason why, right? So that means 0, like division by 0 is fucked, even if you use my theory, right? As a kid. So like, but actually, why would you fix something that isn't broken? I think the reason they didn't add division by 0 is that you can never say any statement about division by 0 that is not wrong, or can be proven wrong or right, because division by 0 is just a sphere where like anything goes, everything breaks, everything is fucked, everything just goes, right? And basically, if you divide two sides by 0, it just ends up being infinity equals infinity. I mean, it's a true statement, but actually, yeah, that's not a problem. Actually, that's not even a problem. But the problem has to be somewhere else. Maybe what I said works. I don't know, but I don't know if in maths there is such a thing as this division by 0 that. It's just a theory, because it seems like I solved it. It means someone knows something I don't. But this division by 0, people they think it breaks maths. To me, it doesn't seem to break maths, because like, for example, if you have an operand like an equal sign, and then why don't we eliminate 0 either? That's my argument. Because like, if you have like f of x equals y, and you multiplied both sides by 0, you get 0 equals 0. Seems odd, doesn't it? But if you have 2 equals 5. If you multiply both sides by 0, you get 0 equals 0. Same as a division by 0, right? Because they say that's a paradox. It's not. 0 already does the same paradox. It's the only number with which you cannot multiply both sides, because you're going to get a true statement regardless of the truth of the other statement. Usually when you multiply a number on both sides, you always get a statement that is dependent on the truth. It's only true if the previous statement is true. So that's why you can say, I don't know, 5 equals 5 means 15 is equal to 15, or you can say 3x equals 15 means x equals 15 divided by 3, because you divided both sides by 3, or you multiply both sides by 1 over 3, right? So literally any number that you multiply on both sides, you get a statement that is true only if the previous statement is true. So that's why you can even do it, right? But 0 is the only exception. Because whatever you do, if you multiply both sides by 0, you always get a statement that is true, which is 0 equals 0. So I was like, the paradox is already here with 0, so why don't we allow 1 over 0 to exist, right? That was my argument. I just added this as a parenthesis story, right? Because when I was a kid, I thought I would outsmarted everybody, but no, I guess they're just not fixing what isn't broken. We don't need division by 0, so why would we add it? We added complex numbers because at least they do something. They're helpful for something, but they lead us into a certain world. But division by 0 just does nothing good, you know. But yeah. So yeah, this is a parenthesis. Maybe division by zero is okay, but people are just not fixing what isn't broken. However, with philosophy and wisdom, I believe there is something that truly is broken, right? And this is, I don't think it should be allowed to ever talk about the concept of nothingness in philosophy, right? Because the human brain cannot comprehend it. So we shouldn't talk about nothingness, just like we shouldn't visualize four dimensions. I mean, the brain cannot visualize four dimensions, but it can at least mathematically do some shit with them, right? Without needing to visualize them, right? We can be blind and still write the formulas in four dimensions and be like, okay. But with absolute nothingness, right? Absolute nothingness is an oxymoron in itself, right? The absolute nothingness is what a oblivionists, which covers atheists, nihilists, whatever, anyone who thinks there's nothing after death, they think, oh, well, it's nothingness. What kind of nothing? What does nothing mean? Absolute nothingness, genuinely nothing, right? They're like, they say that, right? So, absence of consciousness, right? And nothing, genuinely nothing. We invented, from the dawn of humanity, we invented the concept of nothing as, I've said this before in videos, so if you've watched all my videos, if you're a maniac, but then you're gonna get bored by this. Oh, he talked about this already in the Master Key system or whatever, but most people don't watch my shit, so forgive me for saying something twice. So I'm making the same example twice, but we invented the concept of nothingness as the property of a system in regards to the system that contains it. So for example, nothing is only a property of something relative to something else. So, for example, nothing is defined as the absence of something. So you need that something to be absent for you to define it as nothing. Otherwise, nothing doesn't make any sense, right? So here's the example. This is a bottle of water, and reasonably you would say here is water, and this is nothing inside it. But scientifically, you realize that it's not actually nothing. It's air. That's something, right? What if you remove the air and make this a vacuum? Is this then absolutely nothing? Well, no, it's space-time. That's something, right? You can say, always say it's something, right? It's defined to be relative to something else. If you, okay, let's imagine as a thought experiment the absence of space-time, even though that's fucking stupid. Then maybe you got absolute nothingness, right? But the paradox of nothingness is that if we're talking about nothingness as a concept, then it is something. Whenever you try to visualize nothingness, you probably visualize the color black. That's something, right? The concept of there being like, because of course you can keep going with this. Of course, this is using the instantiated concept of material science, right? In which maybe you get to some concept of absolute nothingness, which is useful when building rockets, because considering something absolute, whatever, I don't know. But what I wanna, like, the concept of absolute nothingness is already a paradox in itself, because all nothingness that all of us are used to is defined as the absence of something, and that's something we implicitly define it, right? The bottle is empty, there's nothing in the bottle, right? So the concept of absolute nothingness is like genuinely a definition failure. It's like there has to be something has to be absent for that nothing to be, right? For you to call it nothing to begin with. But there's always something, right? So, and this is the first point. It's an esoteric concept we invented because in practical life, absolute nothingness doesn't exist, and we don't even know if physics allows it. But actually, physics is just a human construct anyway. So I fucked up if I'm talking about physics. But it's not about physics. Beyond it, something way more fundamental. So if I mention physics in any sort of shape or form, I'm actually breaking the rules because it's instantiated based upon the laws that I'm talking about. If I'm talking about the tires, not the car, right? You dumbasses are probably thinking about science all the time when you're saying these statements about the afterlife, thinking it makes you look reasonable and logical, but that's the biggest trap you can fall into. And the only difference between the religious people and you is that the religious people know they have faith, and you think your faith is something logical, which makes you look like the biggest dumbass on earth. And it actually is a shame that wisdom and logic is associated with you, and many people are not exposing you for this bullshit, right? But anyway, this is the last statement, the statement about nothingness. There's nothingness, so you won't be in any pain, right? And the reason I'm saying nothingness should not be allowed, just like division by zero is not allowed in math, the concept of absolute nothingness should never be allowed in any discussion ever, because the human brain cannot fathom it. Not only can you not visualize it, you can genuinely say nothing about nothingness, absolute nothingness, that is either true or false. I did tell you, of course, you cannot say anything that is true or false anyway if it's about the universe. You can only say things that are true or false in a labeling system that you made. The labeling system, either a game about, like chess, this move is not allowed. That's a true statement or a false statement, right? 2 equals 5, that's a false statement, right? These labels we invented, which built on games, which built on these esoteric things we call science, mathematics, right? And absolute, what the fuck did I want to say? it's the third or fourth time around I genuinely forgot what I was saying. I forgot. So yeah, you cannot say any. Oh yeah, I remember. You cannot say anything true or false about the nothingness, absolute nothingness. Even though, and you're gonna be like, but Paul, you said you cannot say anything true or false about the universe anyway. So what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is, you can say things that are true or false about human constructs. Things that are built off of feelings, intuition, and labels, right? If something is built out of intuition and labels, which is usually mixed in with observations, right? The 3 pillars of all human knowledge, then there are true and false in it, because obviously 2 does not equal 5. Why is that false? We decided it to be false. It's something we decided. It's something we invented. Our feelings say that it's better that we decide that this is false, right? It's our feelings, right? Math is made on feelings too, because it's based on intuition and labeling, right? We built something that is useful, a game that is useful, that seems to abide many of our labels, right? It's built on labels. Math is built on labels, right? You would say math is everything. It's not quite everything. Labeling is everything. The human mental mechanism of labeling is everything our mind does. It's literally the biggest generalization for all of human thought is labeling, right? So labeling builds systems or games, as I like to call them, which then builds math, right? And math is the most fundamental game or system of all, because it literally deals with things like numbers, which are genuinely tied into the kernel, the BIOS. I'm associating it with computers. The BIOS of labeling, right? It's close to the BIOS. The label is like the processor itself, the computer CPU itself. And mathematics is like the kernel that is built on top of it, like the BIOS. You know what I mean? So it is built on top of it. But yeah, so that's why I said this everything is. So, but absolute nothingness, because that's what I was getting into, is a concept we invented as our labels, right? People just, if you ask an oblivionist about it, is this absolute nothingness a property of physics, or are you saying this absolute nothingness is a concept of intuition? And he wouldn't know how to respond, because the ambiguity and stupidity in what he's saying is even bewildering him, right? So if you invented a concept with your labeling and intuition that cannot even be true or false, these things do exist. Like, for example, The sentence, this statement is false. You probably heard about this because people talk about this paradox. This sentence is false. It's a sentence. Sentence is already another construct built on top of labels, right? Because we need letters to build words, we need words to build letters, and these are all labels. But yeah, this statement is false. If this statement is false, then it means it's true. But then if it's true, it means it's false. You've heard about this, right? So we already allow things that cannot be either true or false in our paradoxes anyway. So why shouldn't we allow this paradox of absolute nothingness? If this is court, I already told you 2 suspicious things that might make you think that this is a fucking criminal, right? These 2 things, the fact that you cannot say it's either true or false, that's one thing. Anything true or false about it, that's one thing. What else? It's a paradox, because absolute nothingness is not actually definable. These 2 things are already very fucking suspicious. So you are already looking very stupid basing your assumptions about like on this. But the problem is that the human mind cannot actually comprehend it, right? So that's why you cannot actually say anything that's true or false about it. The human mind is built such that it cannot comprehend nothingness. Absolute nothingness. It's a construct that the mind invented, but the mind cannot actually comprehend. I think this is the first time in human history we invented a human construct, a thing based on labeling and reason that we cannot actually comprehend. We invented it somehow, but we cannot actually comprehend it. I guess maybe some math problems are unsolvable or something, but yeah. I don't know. But it still doesn't answer the question why we shouldn't use this nothing. For fuck's sake. Come on. I'm so close to defeating this third one. I'm fucking up. Because, like, you can ask me. The ideal chess move against me right now is asking me, okay, so what's the problem? Just because we cannot... Or actually, no. How do you know that we cannot comprehend it? That the human mind cannot comprehend absolute nothingness? That the human brain is not built to comprehend this concept? How do I know this? And you're right. It is actually just an intuitive statement that I made about it that actually has no fucking basis. It's not based in anything that is high probability at all. Yeah. I guess the problem is not here. I tried to defeat this in a way that is more stylish. My intuition says that we should make nothingness illegal to genuinely talk about. It's my intuition because 99.999% of, no, 100% of all human discussion I've seen about absolute nothingness are pure crap, right? But people are saying pure crap about all sorts of things, so why shouldn't we disallow that? I don't know. My intuition says we should disallow nothingness. It does nothing good to any debate. Absolute nothingness does nothing to any debate. It should be disallowed the same way division by zero is disallowed. This is a separate topic, but I did not give you a good argument as to why. So it still remains just my intuition. That should be listened to if your intuition has the same feeling as me. If we share the same feelings, we're in love, you know. We both feel the same thing about absolute nothingness, right? But I'm just going to use my laser sword that is trusty and all. The statement you made about nothingness has no bigger value and probability and observation about the afterlife than any other statement ever. So it's the same as the first one, which was about the brain. I can just use that argument that I used about the brain being dead and there being no pain. I used the argument against that to this one. Boom. Destroyed. So it's important to notice what I actually disproved here. I did not disprove that the things that these atheists said are possible, right? They're possible because anything goes. If I say the afterlife is just infinite Mickey Mouse's faces, or some bullshit like that, it's the same possibility, right? It's the same level of it's possible, right? Anything goes because there's no anecdotes. And There's no anecdotes. It doesn't mean we don't even have the concept of reasonability, which decides intelligence and stupidity in the world we live in. It doesn't even have those, right? So, yeah. What the fuck was I saying? I can just use the same thing to defeat nothingness. Like, the thing that I disproved here is not the fact that they're not possible. I did not say that. I just said these statements are not logical, they're not wisdom, they're not intelligence. They are faith. That's what I tried to prove here, right? They're faith. The same faith that the religious people have. Only in a more disgusting way, because they're camouflaging it as reason and logic, right? So, yeah. But you might say to me, like, well, I did not say it's not faith. I just said that my faith and my intuition is based on some things that are slightly reasonable, such as the brain, or like the scientific things. So that's why are you saying that I'm stupid? That's not fair, because I'm using these things that are called reasonability to make my intuition statement. I'm just using my earthly intuition to predict something that is not earthly, right? So why does that make me stupid? If you genuinely phrased it like that, then I have nothing against you. You're my friend. You're friends. I shake your hand. We're in this together, right? I just find what you said terrifying, right? And I can start arguing that if you don't find that terrifying, there's something wrong with you, right? Because, like, you're dealing with a concept that cannot be understood by a human brain. I can prove that. You say that there is no pain where there is no consciousness. What is there then? Peace? There's no peace because there's no consciousness. I'm just following what you're saying. I'm just imitating you, right? I'm defeating you by just imitating you, right? So then what is there? There's nothing. Why is that not a bad thing? It's not bad nor good because there's nothing. By the sheer fact that you're not shaking and unable to sleep at night every single night, it means you think it's a good thing because you have complacency in it. If you have complacency in something about as complex and as hard to get right and as hard to not be terrified about as the afterlife, then it's a good thing. Period. Right? You believe it's a good thing, so why is nothing that's a good thing? Hard as fuck. Maybe some people can say that. Maybe some people can keep this chain of bullshit going. Bullshit pseudo reason going or something, but I don't know, man. My throat is starting to hurt. Holy shit. Is this what you get if you speak too much? Your throat starts hurting? I've been speaking for 2 hours and 22 minutes straight. Holy shit. The thing is that right now I'm just a beginner in philosophy. These are concepts completely invented by me, and it probably proves to you that I'm a very creative guy. And I'm very creative. My mind goes outside the box all the time. Yeah, maybe I have this ability to see some things through. Even if somebody proved me wrong in the comment section, you can agree that I made some serious blows. Even if I get some blows back, right? So, yeah. What was that? What did I want to say? I forgot what I wanted to say. Yeah, about books, man. Like, it does feel like I go deeper and I'm like my brain is like cutting edge optimized for philosophy. It does kind of feel this way. Does not mean I can't do math. I'm actually very good at math too. I learn concepts way faster than other people. But it kind of feels like a shame that I did not read the books yet that make this up. And the reason is I cannot really find an English copy, for example, of Nietzsche's stuff. I think it feels reasonable to begin with Nietzsche. He's the guy, he's the guy that came up with all this shit, right? And read about philosophy. I read about the Stoics, right? So at least I did that. I read about the Stoic philosophy. I know the Stoic philosophy at least as much as the Daily Stoic can give you, which is probably superficial knowledge about Stoicism. Stoicism probably goes deeper than that, but at least I know. At least I read something, right? Compared to nothing related to Nietzsche, which is disrespectful regarding him. So if I want to make some genuine contributions in human philosophy and make some genuine innovations in human thought, in the nature of human thought, then I should really read what people have already built before me. Because even if I say I'm more intelligent than them, if someone spent like 4 years to think about something that I spent 2 days about, he's gonna say some things that are way more insightful than I would have reinvented the wheel. So I reinvent the wheel a lot. Maybe there are some people that genuinely, in some framework, kind of said the same thing as me. I also feel like this thing about observation, intuition, and labeling, these three things that base all human thought, in all wisdom, in all philosophy, in all math, in all physics, and everything in science, right? Based on these three things, which are all feelings, right? It's shaky, because maybe there's a more beautiful one that is more fundamental. Maybe there's no such thing as observation, because everything is projected by the mind. So observation itself is invented, which, okay, maybe that doesn't work, because I don't know, maybe that doesn't work actually. I don't have the words to explain why it wouldn't work, but I just know now, right now, it's something just, I didn't have the words to explain it, but yeah. But either way, it's not perfect. Maybe someone did it better than me, you know. It would help if I read some books. Oh well, I'm busy with some other things right now. I kind of genuinely want to become, like, very good in AI. I feel like I would be a lot of help in humanity if I become, like, in a very good position in, like, maybe AI development. If I become, like, the number one go-to guy when it comes to this technology, by understanding it in and out, and also not only understanding it in and out, but also handling the business side of it, like genuinely leading people, leading developers, and stuff like leading humanity forward on towards this journey towards the material singularity, as I call it. People call it the artificial intelligence singularity, but I don't think there's anything special about this concept of artificial intelligence. We have been outsmarted by our own creations, our own material creations, ever since the dawn of mankind. Ever since a man invented an axe. When the man invented an axe, it was supposed to cut a tree, but someone used it to cut someone's head, or accidentally cut his arm. We've been already outsmarted by our own fucking axe. We accidentally cut our arm off, right? We're stupider than the axe, right? Then computers came in, cars came in. How many people on this globe understand how a car works? How many people on this world understand how a smartphone works? How many people in this world, right? Material, our creation is already outsmarting us, because we have to become very, 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 very specialized, right? In everything specific, right? We have to be very specialized. So there have to be very few people that are very specialized on very specific things, and we cannot actually see around us anymore. A guy that creates a very specific diode of a transistor or whatever, or a processor, specialized his entire life and knowledge of physics and engineering on that specific thing. Doesn't know jack shit about anything else. Then there's the other guy that handles the other transistor or some shit, right? So, and then there's the person who specialized his entire life on connecting these diodes and transistors and whatever to make a specific itsy bit of a processor, right? Nobody knows what the fuck, nobody knows anything anymore, right? So, because everything has to be so specialized to even be possible. Maybe it's not as extreme as I thought. Maybe there is genuinely some people on Earth that understand a processor, a CPU, in and out. From the fucking transistor all the way up, right? All the mathematical induction of knowledge all the way up to the entire system itself. Maybe it's not as extreme as I said, but we're approaching that anyway. We're approaching this. And basically the theory is that we're going to reach a material singularity where we will, like, our creation, our material creation will outsmart us so much that humanity will just fuck itself in the ass or something. I don't know. I mean, nukes are already here, you know? Anyone, Okay, actually, someone cannot create a nuke by accident, so yeah. But someone can. Okay. What if, by accident, some nuclear bomb just detonates itself for no reason, or no reason that we can identify? Someone made a mistake somewhere, and it just fucking blew up inside a fucking military base or something. And then how many people were blown off? Whatever. That's a disaster, right? So it already looks pretty grim. We're pretty lucky that that's never happened yet. Maybe, well, it's just luck, basically. Nukes are probably very complicated. Or maybe I just speak from a lack of knowledge. Maybe if you ask a physicist, he'll be like, well, it's not actually as complicated as you say, because you have to only keep the uranium like this, and it has to be like this. So basically, there's no room for error. Maybe that's, I can imagine a physicist telling me that right now. So it's like, yeah, it's probably not that bad with nukes. But basically, what I'm saying is that this whole artificial intelligence thing is actually nothing special. We've been doing this all the time. Like, we've been doing this non-stop. Who says, like, that the singularity has to come in the form of a neural network? Nobody. Maybe a neural network is the most generalized form of any algorithm on any program on Earth. Like, no, not on Earth. In existence. In material existence. And actually, I just realized, I previously said that it's insane that the universe actually is gentleman enough to, like, appreciate our math and make it easy for us to calculate physical stuff using this math thing that we actually invented in our head. But I just realized our observations of the universe itself are based on labels. So it's actually prone for math to succeed, because math is based on labels, and our observations about the universe itself are based on labels. So that's why math works. It's not because the universe is nice. It's because the universe we observe is based on our labels about the universe, and that's what made math even possible. That's why math works for it. That's why the whole mystery is solved. I just fucking realized that there is nothing actually special about math. Because, like, even integrals and derivatives and the way they're used in physics and electromagnetics are all based on our labels that electricity is something, an isolated system in itself. It's based on the labels. Like, even when you look at the integrals and the derivatives applied to physics in real life, how things are, it's just based on our labels that an entity is so much of it that it kind of looks continuous, right? Just like a continuous graph that we invented in our mind. It's based on our observations that are labels that for some reason our mind is made to, like, see water as something continuous. Like, we just, even though it's actually just fucking molecules that are actually discrete, right? And even these molecules are not discrete, because, like, it's discrete because we label them as that, because we see these molecules as something separate, right? So math is just labels. It's just our own labels about the universe. It's a fantasy that we invented with our mind about it to predict other things. The things we are predicting with physics and math are labels in themselves, right? We predict that the rocket will fly up. That rocket is a label in itself. We invented the label, right? So no wonder label leads to axiom, leads to math itself, leads to another labels that are interconnected with each other, with these connections that are actually also labels. And of course, our chain of logic, which logic is also labels in itself, leads to the correctitude of another label in a world where true and false is true. Right? True or false exists, my bad, right? When the fuck is anything I say going to be useful for humanity? How many years have to pass for the things I say to genuinely be put to some practical use? Because, like, I'm saying some very esoteric shit. Will it be 50 years, 100 years? Will it be after this singularity, magical singularity event or something? I don't know. Maybe never, I don't know. It's like, right now I just sound like a madman. Anyone listening to me just sounds like, it's just like, what the fuck is this going on about? Right? I think people listening to me think, my man, we should make philosophy illegal. What this guy is saying is so fucking irritating, or something like that. I don't know. But I'm not doing it for fun. I'm trying to solve the mystery that ruined my entire childhood, basically. it was the biggest fear of my entire childhood. Was basically something, the universe doing something irrational and like irrational to me, to torture my entire body, my balls, my shaft, my sexual organs. I was also thinking about radiation and how much torture that is, and it just, there was nothing to prove to me, because people, have faith in things. They think it's not gonna happen. They see a low probability. It's like, it's not gonna happen. They have faith that it's not gonna happen. They use probability as if it's a religion. Oh shit! And I also wanna get into my German friend, and we had this discussion with quantum probability with him about probabilities of something really stupid happening, with the universe. And he kept saying this brain dead thing that, for all intents and purposes, it won't happen. As if he's writing a paper trying to describe a rocket. But our discussion is about fear. And if something is uncertain, you should be afraid. If you're not afraid, you have faith in something. The only antidote to fear is trust or faith, which are actually the same thing. So it's just faith, right? Trust is also just a form of faith, right? So you have to have faith in something, right? It's not necessarily a religious term. It's not faith in God, even though that's fucking useful. If you are able to believe in God, you should. I see nothing wrong with it. Of course, the ISIS extremists and all that, but in practice, that's not gonna happen. Most people that believe in God are not gonna, actually. Oh fuck! I'm risking saying something stupid because I haven't actually looked into statistics. So I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna erase this. Pretend you didn't hear it. Or you did hear it. Maybe you can research this for me. Maybe you can say, okay, Paul, you were right, or Paul, you were right. Wrong, actually. We'll have to try again or whatever. But, my German friend. Here is an instance where the things that I'm saying have some practical and very vital and important use for humanity. My German friend, with his view on probability, is kind of distorted, right? So he's a guy that is very ambitious about life. He saw Andrew Tate and he's like, I want to be rich too. I don't want to be a misogynist. He's not into the bad shit, you know what I mean? He's not into the shit that people hate about Tate. Only the positive stuff, right? So it inspired him, but even without Tate, he also had the flame in him to use his intelligence to something. He's a very intelligent dude, He can play. He can build farms in Minecraft. Fuck. I just roasted him by accident. Okay, but he's an intelligent. I just know him. He's an intelligent dude. Why is he an intelligent dude? Because he can actually handle conversations with me, and to some extent, make me feel like he's actually understanding the concept that I'm talking about to the same extent that I am. So my feeling says that he's intelligent, right? Except this whole probability crap where I just think he's brain dead. But maybe that will be fixed. He's 2 years younger than me, mind you. So I'll give him some slack, right? 2 years of difference is actually a very, very massive difference, right? 2 years. Because if I am to compare myself to me 2 years ago was a brain dead, stupid, you know what I mean? Compared to me right now, of course. Me compared to some other person, maybe I'm a god, but compared to myself, my evolution is very high. Same for him, right? So I'll give him some slack. But the probability stuff, I do believe it is brain dead. My intuition just says what the stuff he says is brain dead. And finally, I think I kind of got him on my side when he told me he's a very ambitious guy, as I told you. He wants to succeed in life. He wants to have a lot of money. He wants to matter, I don't know. He wants to, just like me, actually. And he watched a video once that basically described the probabilities of anyone succeeding in life. And it said basically the probability of you succeeding in life and doing anything important at all is like 0.0000 whatever percent. And most of people on Earth, the 99.9999% whatever, will never live a life that was worth living, right? Or something like that. Of course, the video, I used ambiguous language here, but the video was actually a bit less ambiguous. Of course, there's an ambiguity to anything you say, because everything is feelings, as I previously said, but that video had a lot more specificity than I did right now in this. I just kind of simplified the idea of the video. You get what I mean, right? And he looked at that video and he said, it ruined me. It fucking ruined me. Because like the chance of me succeeding in what I want to do is 0.0000 whatever percent. So my life is ruined, basically. He didn't exactly say it that dramatically, but he was very pissed off about it. He was really disheartened about that video, and I was like thinking, is this guy brain dead? Like, what is this guy? He completely misunderstood probability. He has an image in his head of probability that is completely distorted. That probability means something somewhere throws a dice, and whatever that dice gives you means this will happen. So like, because that video said that there's a 0.00001% probability of you being successful and being rich, being above a certain baseline of money, right? It means the universe just throws dice and will randomly decide, and there's basically no chance that you will ever get it, because it's like a fucking lottery, right? That's a delusion. That's not probability. Probability means, as I said previously, that we don't understand a system. Probabilities diverge towards 0% and 99% the more we understand the system. But the divergence is not actually linear, nor exponential, nor anything that could be defined in the bounds of higher and lower. Which means like, fuck, I'm being really complicated in my speech. Sorry. Just keep with me. Just stay with me, okay? Like, the video does say that 99.999% of people don't succeed in life. Does not mean that the video understands the system very well. Indeed, the probabilities do diverge towards 0 and 100% the more you understand the system. But how they diverge is an entire fucking different story. Because, like, you could be, as you approach understanding, you could instantly enter a bump of just stupidity that has to be then climbed down of that stupidity to then reach the intelligence again of the divergence. So it's not really... Just because someone says a 99% statement about a fucking card game or something does not mean he understands the environment in which the cards get dealt, right? So, even though that they do diverge towards 0% and 100%, they don't diverge in a meaningful way. To the point where you can say, if someone says something that is 70% true, 70% deterministic about a system, that means he understands it better that says something that is 50% about a system that has actually no fucking wisdom in it. It's not true. It's not true. It's not what I said. So the divergence itself is not anything meaningful. But all that you can get perfectly from me, the only takeaway from what I'm saying about probabilities, about systems and understanding or not understanding the system, is that for someone to understand the system perfectly, all the probabilities have to be 0% and 100%, right? How they diverge there is madness. It doesn't have any meaningful to it. So if someone says 99.999% of this happening, they have as little of a clue about what makes that thing happening as you. So just because, yeah, they don't really diverge in the meaning. So actually, do they diverge at all? I don't know. Whatever. Well, that's not important. So if it's not 0% or 100%, then so like false and true, then you don't understand anything about the system, right? That's the way probability works, right? So the guy making the video just put a bunch of statistics. Let's say the statistics are all true. They're all measured. Everyone looked in the wallet of every fucking person on the planet, and it's like 0.0001%, right? Perfectly true statement. So what? Does it mean I won't succeed? Why does it mean that you, Marco, have a 0.0001% chance of succeeding? He basically assumes that the entire system of human success is someone throwing a dice and $100,000 appearing in their pocket. It's not how it fucking works, right? The system of human success is a very, 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 very complex system. So many variables, so many things you can say, and you can be wrong all the time. You can be the biggest economist, finances, you know everything, and you're gonna be wrong eventually, right? That's how complicated it is. So, yeah. That does not mean you won't succeed. So what the fuck do these statistics know about you, Marco? That's his internet name. Sorry, I just gave it away. Who gives a fuck? So, why does that mean you won't succeed? What do they know about you? What do these statistics know about you? Nothing. They did not measure how many meaningful discussions you have a day, what your feelings are regarding to being successful. I'm just giving them off of the top of my head. I'm not saying these are actual good factors for measuring success. I'm just for the sake of example, giving some reasonable things that might or might not be true, but like, what do they know about the meaningful discussions you have day to day? What do they know about your intelligence level? What do they know about how much you care about the subjects, your feelings that you have regarding being rich? How much do they know about your train of thought that is about being rich and having money? What do these statistics know about that, right? Because like, they know nothing, so they're not measuring anything. Maybe your probability of getting rich is 80% or some shit. If someone looks at the system with a closer glance, right? The guy who said 80% still doesn't understand the system, because a guy who understands the system perfectly knows every molecule in your body and says there's 100% chance you will not succeed, or 100% chance you will succeed. But then there's a paradox with that too. You remember in The Matrix, you probably watched The Matrix, there is a fucking oracle, right? The woman, the lady, the oracle, God bless her. I really like that it's a black woman that seems to be a housewife and seems to just be a normal person. The oracle is the most person that you wouldn't imagine looking like an oracle level. But yeah, whatever, that's a different thing. So, she says, like, when she predicts that watch out for the vase so it doesn't fall, and then what was his name, Neo, I think it was the protagonist's name, he just makes it fall immediately. She said, if I didn't tell you about the vase fall, watching out the vase will fall, do you think you would have made it fall? So and then eventually when she told him that you are not the chosen one. That's what she told Neo. So she told him there's 100% chance that you are not the chosen one, and blah blah blah. That's a false statement. She knew it was false, but she told him the false statement so that it becomes true, because she understood the system so well that she knew she had to tell him a lie for her prediction to be true, for her prediction to become true. So she tinkled. So someone actually telling you a percentage of your success is actually tinkering with the system, right? So by the fact that he told you a percentage, it could be a fucking lie on purpose to make you successful, right? So then Morpheus eventually tells Neo, this is the quote that basically, the beautiful quote that sums up all of this. Walking the path is not the same as knowing the path, right? Beautiful. So someone tells you a wrong path, so you can go on the wrong road that leads you astray, that's not actually the path, but that ended up being a shortcut. And the person understood the system of the forest so well that he knew that you will walk. He understood you so well that you knew you would take the wrong path there, and he knew it would take you to a shortcut to success. So walking the path is not the same thing as knowing the path. So even if someone tells you, Marco, I am a fucking expert in human success, you have an 80% chance of being successful, right? That could mean nothing, right? Or him telling you, I know everything, I'm God. You have a 0% chance of success. I will make sure that you will never ever be successful in your life. What if that's a lie meant to trigger a series of events in your mind and your suffering and your everything to then propel you into an 100% chance of success, right? So what's the takeaway in all of this? First off, that video has nothing to do with how much whether you will be successful or not. And second, we live in a world of complete uncertainty and nobody knows jack shit about any system whatsoever, right? So everything is just chaos. I think that's a very solid statement to make. So what's the right course of action? The right course of action is to believe and have faith. Faith is the resolution for everything. I'm not talking necessarily about religious faith. You need to have faith in the things you decide to have faith in, right? The brain has this capacity for faith, and it's the only solution to anything ever, right? Faith is the only solution. I'll repeat this. Faith is the only solution to anything ever, right? It's the only concrete solution we have to anything ever. Scientists build rockets because they have faith that the universe will never break the law that gravity pulls mass together. That's still faith, because the universe didn't actually make a promise. As I said before, The universe does not obey the laws of physics. The laws of physics obey the universe, or whatever they think they can predict about the universe, right? Which they can't, because the universe is the universe. The universe just seems to hold these fucking promises, which are so solid. Humanity has never observed them being wrong, right? Faith, everything is faith. So the only solution to anything ever is faith. Everything boils down to faith. And everything is feeling, everything is intuition, and faith is the only solution, right? And you can have faith in anything. You can be an atheist and have faith that there is a construct of the universe that will make you successful. You can have faith in your own intelligence. You're just as faithful as the religious people, even though you call yourself an atheist. That's the beauty of it, right? The beauty that people don't see, that people only I see, that maybe now you see because I told you about it, right? Maybe you were gonna start, as Andrew Tate once said when he taught Adin Ross about money. He said something like this: I am highlighting your ignorance to stimulate your curiosity, right? Hoping this does it for you. So, because the main goal of these videos is people challenging this discussion about a topic that I've never ever seen discussed anywhere, ever, right? I've never seen anyone talk about this. I've never seen anyone think about this stuff. But I think it really is worth giving a thought. It might just be the most important thing humanity ever thinks about. Faith. This is all the conclusion of everything I said about the nature of thought, the nature of human knowledge, everything else, and all the basis of philosophy and wisdom, and everything we call science, right? And everything we call religion, in fact, right? Gospel, right? They were the OGs of faith, right? So, faith resolves fear. It's the only thing that can actually resolve fear. Believing that will not happen to you. Or believing that if it happens to you, you will handle it somehow. As Susan Jeffers said in the book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. She said, whatever happens, I will handle it. And if you tell that to yourself, all fear will be solved. Spoilers. I don't feel like my fears are solved by telling myself that I handle it, because just because I tell myself that I handle it does not mean I have faith that I will actually handle it, you know? Some people say that psychologically telling mantras to yourself will make you actually believe something, which would be insane if that's true. So that means you can genuinely edit your brain to make it believe anything, have faith in anything at all, which is actually the ultimate superpower, because like everything is just that. When you realize the nature of the human thought and the nature of the universe, the universe is all uncertainty, and all we have is observation, intuition, and labels. That's it. That's the basis of all human knowledge, including math, science, chess, your mom, everything. So everything is just based on that. So it's all about faith, right? So the only takeaway from this is that the best and most sensible thing you can do if you want to achieve anything in life is to edit your faiths in such a way that they make you, at least in a reasonable way, appear to perform better, right? When you observe yourself, you know that it works better, and your intuition says that. Just a second, please. My mom just blessed me with a wonderful plate of food, which most people in the world don't have the luxury to, indulge. Yet, my gratitude is set in such a way to make me a ungrateful fuck about it and eat it as if it's just food, you know? And can you actually change gratitude? I don't fucking know. People say just do gratitude meditation or something like that. Just being like, I don't know. Like, I think Andrew Tate said the most reasonable thing about gratitude: just put yourself to something very, very unreasonably hard, and then the normal things will start feeling better. If you don't eat for 3 days, then you'll have gratitude for your meal. Very reasonable statement. Andrew Tate said the most reasonable statement about gratitude ever. All the fucking meditation stuff and all that, I don't know. If it works, that would be insane, but I don't know. I've tried meditating and stuff like that. Maybe I haven't tried it enough, you can give me that argument that I haven't tried enough, so how the fuck do I know? But how the fuck do I come to a conclusion with such little training data, you know? And have faith. No, yeah, I mean, have faith that everything will be okay. Have faith that you will succeed. Have faith that, not necessarily in God. If you really want to avoid the concept of God, I actually understand you. Because I remember one time when I genuinely opened my mind to the concepts of Sam Harris, which I believe Sam Harris. Often in my speech and my philosophy, I am a very heavy critic of an indifferent universe, atheism. I'm a critic of nihilism, right? But I do admit, the only coherent atheist that seems to say some things that are might genuinely be beyond me, and I yet do not have the capacity to counter argument or even understand to some extent, is Sam Harris. Sam Harris talks about the nature of the universe in terms of enlightenment, and the enlightenment is such a complex concept that basically not even a handful of people will even have a meaningful tangency with. So fuck do I have on Sam Harris, bro? I can't have anything on him. So yeah, and he challenged my thought about God. I was like, damn, God is just a label that I invented. It doesn't actually exist as a concept. I thought to myself, man, you can think about anything about the universe, you know? And the concept of God, as Eckhart Tolle put it, is a closed concept. Because human history and everything has kind of tainted it with ambiguity and all sorts of meanings that are just completely missing the point, you know? A bearded man that is in the skies and he decides some bullshit and he gets angry sometimes. That's why he makes wars happen and famine and all that, and that's a great explanation of the universe. We got this, boys. Jesus died for our sins. Does that mean... What does that mean? Because like it means like no matter how fucked up we are as human beings, we're not going to go to hell as long as we accept the gift of Jesus Christ and just repent. Right? Does that mean I'm allowed to just kill everyone? Fuck knows. I mean, probably a Christian can give me a more detailed answer on the mechanism and the system of Christianity itself, which of course, built on labels, as I said. Religion itself is also built on labels, as is any construct of the human mind. But, as I observed, this is the Popescu-Paul theory. Everything I say here is purely out of my mind, not influenced by any book, right? Because I'm just a weird dude. I think about this stuff and I came up with some conclusions, right? So, and that might be useful to a human being that is way more reasonable than me, because you decided not to think about these things, which makes you maybe a more practically useful human being than me. But yeah. So, it's the only conclusion, man. Faith is everything. So I realized it's all we have, everything. Science is built on faith. What else do you need? If even science is built on faith, if even philosophy is built on faith, then everything is built on faith. These were the only suspects which people who saw things in a bit of a diluted way, thought that were devoid of faith. Science is all faith. And you will be like this. You might be saying this. Okay. Paul, here's a very good argument, which I actually have a counter argument against. Paul. My name's Paul. Hello. So you might say, Paul, you say science is built on faith because science is built on a bunch of statements about reality that the universe has never before been observed to defy, right? So we don't actually know whether they're undefiable or not, because the universe is built on uncertainty. But is it so reasonable to call it faith when we don't understand the system of probability? What if those things like gravity attracting mass, or my fingers going through each other, what if they're genuinely impossible by the system? That's why they never happened before. Have you thought about that? It is indeed a case. It is indeed a case, right? Which would genuinely mean that science is not built on faith, but on facts and logic. This is the only tiny, tiny, tiny sliver of faith, but it's actually so tiny that it's negligible, right? So that's why science is reasonable to be called perfect facts and logic, right? Dare I tell you that even in the practical world, we assume all the probabilities are facts and logic, which they're not, but we assume all of them are. Even then, science is just feelings. Why? looking at a bunch of data and determining something is actually, even in a reasonable framework, feelings. Even in a reasonable framework. Even if in a framework where all promises the universe gave to us are promises, not things we interpreted as promises, like these girlfriends that think their boyfriends love them, but what am I saying? But no, like the universe didn't promise these things, right? It's basically what I said. But even if these promises are actually facts, they will never be broken. Even if we know this for a fact, which we can't, I don't think it's knowable. Even then, science is built on feelings. Maybe the science below it is not built on feelings. Maybe certain statements below it is not built on feelings. But science reaches a certain point of abstraction to the point where tracing these facts is actually impossible, because you have to... Scientists cannot measure every single molecule of every single system all the time, right? These are genuine. If we assume all promises of the universe, of the great reasonability wall, are true, then we should say that if we know all molecules ever, then we know facts and logic, whatever, right? But our scientists can't even know that. They have to make assumptions based on things that they cannot even fully observe, right? The universe is hard as fuck to observe. We invented microscopes and shit, but it's very stupidly hard, right? Look at all molecules in this table, all of them, and tell me how they move, and tell me how this table is, I don't know. You know what I mean? So even these statements are built on feelings, and you're gonna be like, yeah, but reasonably speaking, our observations are, like, you can build observations on feelings, right? But then these observations are so certain. Like, for example, the laws of thermodynamics. Has a scientist ever looked at two objects exchanging heat and been like, okay, I just saw literally all molecules in these two objects. I saw exactly how they move, and this is why the law of thermodynamics is a law. No, fuck no. They cannot see all of them. They just analyzed. They did some very smart, intelligent stuff, measurements, things, blah, 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 blah. And they came up with the law. Like, yeah, I didn't actually read the literature specifically, but I know exactly that's what they did. So, they don't know all the molecules, but this law, which they built off of feelings, because they did some experiments. Experiments are actually pretty feeling. Even if all the facts we know about the universe are true, these observations are still based on a framework that does not allow 100% observation. It allows partial observation, or, indirect observations. Things are prone to error, human error, right? So many experiments made this law of thermodynamics like it's okay, it's true, because they did so many fucking experiments with it, to the point where it became almost as certain as the basis for human reason themselves. That's why it's like a fact now, right? So science can find these walls of these reasonability gaps. No, not gap. These reasonability thingies, where the universe never proved us wrong, ever. So it's right? It's prediction machine. Even on top of the basic shit, right? By doing experiments so much, right? And you're gonna be like, yeah, it kind of looks to me like science is perfectly logic and facts now, right? Because the faith is so fractionally tiny, right? So tiny, right? But in fact, even in practicality, I kind of doubt that science is not feelings. Because eventually the time will come where a study will just genuinely be hard to do. I don't know. For example, I'll even trace back to this video of statistics and data about money and stuff. Imagine some psychologist tries to figure out some psychological reason why people are not successful. And he comes up with if your thoughts are like this, then you have an 80% chance of whatever. He looked at the statistics, he saw the percentage, and he came up with an intuitive idea. And this intuition can sometimes even be risky, even in practice, But this is pretending all scientists are right and everything they say is not even prone to misunderstanding, which it fucking is. There's so much misunderstanding everywhere. For example, language acquisition, right? I think I've heard about some scientists that say there's a part in the brain of a baby that just kind of like does not become as functional as you become an adult, right? As you grow older. So you can never speak a language as good as your native language. Right? I am living proof that that's fucking wrong. I started learning Japanese at like when did I start? 2018. How old was I? 16? You know. Probably scientists probably say that that's wrong, you know. I don't actually know whether that scientific paper exists. If it doesn't, God bless. Thank you, scientists, for not being ambiguous and not saying something that is not, you know. But if it exists, oopsie, you know. It exists, oopsie, because even if they're right, like I speak Japanese and English. English, okay, let's say I started being fluent in English at 11, so maybe it was that part of my brain. But Japanese, come the fuck on. I was like 16 or 17 when I started. At 0. I started at 0, right? And now, like many Japanese people will genuinely tell me that like I'm like the only difference between me and a native speaker is very, very slight intonation. That intonation is not even unnatural because it's the result of me listening to Japanese in multiple accents. You can actually tell in my English, right? I speak Japanese basically about almost as good as my, yeah, eventually be the same as my English. You know how my English is, right? Some people, if they don't have a very sharp ear, they cannot tell whether I'm not English or American, but I'm actually Romanian. My language is like, it sounds a bit, it's Latin with slight Slavic pronunciation, right? So it sounds a bit like Portuguese, if anything. So I'm not supposed to speak English like this, right? So it's the same with my Japanese, which is after 16 years of age. Does this really sound to you like the part of the brain, you will never speak a language as good as your native language again? Yeah, but how much? A tiny fraction that is barely even conceivable to any human ear? You can talk to me in English about literally anything that you would talk to a native speaker. There's no difference within me and a native English speaker born in fucking America or Britain, except some tiny ass fucking maybe intonation thingies that might be related to, they are probably just related to me hearing multiple, being brought up in multiple accents at once, which kind of mixed with each other, which is the thing that's happening in my Japanese. So if any scientist ever said anything about the brain not being able to learn languages and as good as a native language, even if they're right, the difference is so inconceivable that it's irrelevant. So no matter your age, you can learn any language at a native level as long as all you do is immersion, right? Instead of learning grammar and translating words, because that's not what babies do, right? You do exactly what a baby would do or what a curious child would do, you know, and just listen and just watch videos continuously. That's this is an entire video on its own. My opinion on language learning and why I speak 3 languages fluently that are completely unrelated to each other, Romanian, English, and Japanese, and what I can tell to you to like change your perception on it, you know, a little bit. So yeah, this is an entirely different topic in itself. The point is that science, if it is made by humans, it's prone to human error, and that human error, even if it's not on the hand of the scientist, it's on the hand of the one that did the misunderstanding. And honestly, this misunderstanding on language learning, I think anyone would fucking do it. It's so hard to avoid this mistake of misunderstanding. Maybe a scientist can prove that there's genuinely something about my brain that makes me a linguistic genius, and nobody can do what I do. Huh. I don't know about that. I don't think I'm a linguistic genius. I don't think there's anything special about me linguistically. But that's just my intuition, my feelings. Maybe someone smarter than me. I don't know. But yeah, if there is a scientific article that says something really negative about your life, or that sounds really ridiculous, my German friend has had a lot of these problems, and maybe this is a way of the universe. Maybe the universe brought me to him as sort of like a savior of this stuff, because literally Out of 8 billion people, how many people will genuinely solve these extremely complicated problems other than me, right? So he had this problem where scientifically he read that there's a 0.0000 whatever chance that he'll get diabetes. So he said, even if I work out, even if I do everything right, even if I get a diet, even if I do everything in my power to avoid diabetes, there's still a chance that I'll get it anyway. I'm fucked, basically. And he lost his will on life because of that scientific probability. Again, he misunderstood probability as rolling dice, right? As I said before, they don't know the system. They just made a statistic data thingy that some people get diabetes out of seemingly nowhere, but we don't know what it is. What if it's the fucking placebo effect? What if you believe that you will make it? If you believing that you'll make it and everything will be alright will save you from diabetes. What if? I don't know. Maybe placebo won't save you. I don't know. What if? What if, bro? The only option in this universe is to have faith. And have faith in the things that help you. Don't be like the black pills. The black pills just use the power of faith to fuck themselves in the ass. I think the black pill is the black pill community is the most despicable, has the most despicable belief system known to humanity right now. They literally built an entire system of faith and belief, disguised this as facts, and basically assumed that their lives are fucked regardless of what they do. They fucked themselves up mentally in every way, shape, or form possible, turned themselves into victims. I am absolutely and utterly opposed to the black pill. That's all I can say. Even if something is scientifically proven to be impossible, if it fucks you up, like it fucks your entire life up for that to be possible, remember, science is only science when it helps humanity, right? And I can say this because I know how this shit works. Now it was built upon it. If there is a fucking stupid ass little probability or some limitation, you never know where the gaps are. There could be gaps, but you can never say that faith won't get you anywhere, ever, right? You can never say that faith won't solve all problems. Maybe, hey, faith does not solve all problems in existence. Maybe, but nobody knows that. It's your only option. You don't have any other option. You either build faith in something or you suffer. You will suffer meaninglessly over stupid bullshit. From above, you will look like the biggest fucking idiot on earth. And when you will die, if there is an afterlife, you will regret your entire life believing in some bullshit that you thought was fact. Instead of having faith and allowing yourself to look like an idiot. Allow yourself to look like an idiot to lead your life. Maybe the stuff I'm saying sounds a bit cringy and like believe in yourself kind of shit. It's the reality, man. I mean, if I had another option about approaching life that would make me look more stupid and more grounded in facts, I would have taken that one, but this is the universe we live in. In fact, I discovered this by trying to understand what facts are and what reason is, and discovering that they're not actually real. And that's what leads to faith. So, if you watch this entire video, this is the conclusion of everything. Have faith. Have faith in whatever you choose it to be. Goodbye. And thank you for watching.